I don't know how true that is. I think you might be telling a few lies in that intro, Boom. But nonetheless, thank you so much. Super excited to be here. Can't wait to dive into all these fantastic topics that you set up for us today. So thanks.
Well, you know what? Sorry about that, ladies and gentlemen. I actually had a bit of a hiccup, and somehow or another, there was no audio. So I'm going to have to read the opening once again. First of all, I want to apologize. Because, I'm very meticulous when it comes to doing these shows. And, I'm not the only one that's been having trouble with OBS, as well as, of course, the removal of Google Hangouts, which kind of hurt a lot of the smaller, even some of the larger content creators. And I didn't realize they didn't have audio, thanks to the graphic god that he figured this out before we were halfway through the show and no one could hear. So first of all, I want to welcome everyone to this week's Breakfast with Boom. Of course, I'm your host, MrBooMStickXL, and I have put together a ton of incredible topics for this morning's show. Now, here's the thing. Being that it's the summertime, a good portion of news has been really dry. And obviously, if you want to provide good content to the folks that come in every week, like you, the chat's there now, you sometimes have to do extra research. You have to dig a little deeper. And that's what I've been doing all week to make sure that today's show is stacked with unbelievable topics that most shows are not talking about. But of course, in order to run a show, I needed to find an amazing panel of people that are just as awesome as the topics. And you know what? I'm happy to report that I found such a panel. So first up, you know him as a man that's so brave. He volunteered to playtest Resident Evil 8 here in New York in September. He's a game reviewer who gives truthful opinions, a YouTube content creator with skills for days, a die-hard Xbox supporter, a community member that helps others because it's the right thing to do, and he's part of the Breakfast with Boom family. Please welcome Zemi the Braveheart.
It was even better the second time, but I am not playing Resident Evil. I'm not. But thank you so much for that intro. Super excited to be here. So many great topics. Can't wait to dive into them. So thank you so much.
It's always great to have you. We always have a lot of fun, and obviously it's great to have you on each and every week because obviously this is a fun show, and of course I enjoy having you on as a regular panel member. But next up, making his return appearance. He is one of the most talented artists on Twitter. He is the creator of the amazing XboxGamerPicks.com, showrunner of the outstanding Retro Renegades, and a one-handed gamer who is better than you, I guarantee it. He's also one of the most giving and caring human beings I've personally ever met. I like to call him brother. Please welcome J-Dubs, a.k.a. the Graphic God.
Thank you for the for that amazing intro. I mean, they get better and better every time you even you write them, Boom. They're just phenomenal. Yes, but thank you very much for allowing me to jump back into the show.
Oh,
Last week was my return, and hopefully it won't be my last, and hopefully this one won't be my last. I've got a couple more weeks of Fridays off, and I'll try to jump in as much as I can.
Hello.
Yeah, we hear you, Pratt. I'm going to get to your intro in a second, brother. How's everything? Welcome.
You got started the show already.
Yeah, we did. We are live, ladies and gentlemen. Obviously, there are slight hiccups, but we're going to get into the show. We've already done a couple of... Actually, this is probably the largest panel I've ever put together, but it's going to be a fun show next, regardless. So next up, we have a Forza Motorsport veteran who is so good his name is in the credits. A die-hard racing enthusiast, esports competitor with skills to match, a YouTube content creator that's fair, honest, and informative. He's a technology connoisseur who has an eye for the arts. Please welcome Hyena Den.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Every time I'm invited onto this wonderful podcast, it's very early where I live, and I was thankful enough to not oversleep again. Like I woke up this morning and I could see the sunlight peeking through my window. I'm like, oh no, please tell me I haven't done it again. Looked at the time, it was 6:40 a.m. and I'm like, okay, I haven't missed it just yet. So we're here, we're ready to go, and as far as being in the credits of Forza, that is a lifelong dream of mine.
Well, you know what? I threw it in there. I like to exaggerate. My wife says I'm exagerado, which of course is exaggeration in Spanish. But you know what? You have to have fun with these intros. I like to do them because you know what? And I say this all the time. Yes, everyone knows who Boom is. Everyone understands that I have 3 live shows, right? I'm constantly on Twitter. I think I'm closing in on 70,000 tweets. I'm all over the place. But the point of the show is not just to highlight myself. I can do that on my own. It's to highlight the folks that take the time to spend 2 hours on the show that some people that may be listening don't know, and I want to push that traffic towards everyone's channels. That's why I do the intros the way they are. They're not just like, hey, Hyena Den, welcome to the show. Let's move on to the next one. That to me wouldn't be right. So thank you so much for being here as always. And of course, if people don't know, he's on the West Coast, so it's 7:12 in the morning as opposed to here on the East Coast, which is the correct time at 10 after 10. But you know what? Let's continue on with these outrageous, and I really mean outrageous intros. Next up, we have an awesome community member making his Breakfast with Boom debut. He considers himself an avid gamer. I beg to differ. He's a die-hard comic lover, a huge fan of anime, a full-time member of the Smash Podcast, and an old school G just like me. Please welcome Super G. Super, you're unmuted, brother.
Good morning, everybody. Oh, man. Hey, Hyena, dude, we're on the same flow, bro.
Okay.
I swear, we must be neighbors because I woke up the same way. I was like, yo, what time is it? I hope I didn't miss the show. But I am excited to be here, man. This is awesome, dude. And thanks for the invite, Boom. Let's get into these topics, man.
It's great to have you on the show. If you remember when I first started YouTube a couple of years ago, I used to do community spotlights, and Super G was one of the first ones that I've done.
Yeah, no doubt. It was awesome.
And it was great to do it then. It's great to have you on the show. And of course, we have last but in no way least.
Oh, hold on. We also met too at E3.
Yes, we
bumped
did.
into each other at the 7-Eleven.
Yes, we did. That is right.
That heat. It was insane.
Yeah, man. Listen, that was. I'm hoping to get back to E3 next year. We'll see. It's an expensive trip. You got to really cut corners, especially if you buy as many games as I do. But introducing the last panel member who happened to jump on at the last minute, and I'm always great to have him on the show. You know him as a real-life G.I. Joe. He is deadly when playing Ghost Recon. He is a member of many podcasts, one of which happens to be the next podcast where he gets cheated on his gameplay on a regular basis. You know him as also being the guy who will tell you like it is. Please welcome Predator H2O.
Yo, man, thanks for having me on last minute. I remember it was Friday and I'm off today. I was like, oh, fuck, I should have hit up Boom and see if he wants me on the show. And I kind of jumped in last minute. Sorry for cutting you off there earlier, Graphic God. I didn't know you guys were live yet, so my bad.
It's all good, bro.
Yeah, well, listen, you know what?
It's topics, man. I have no idea what they are, though.
Well, again, this was super last minute. If people that are in the chat have worked with me before, they know that my each time I write one of these shows, my scripts or my notes are 1,500 to 2,000 words, sometimes more than that. I put a lot of work into it, and unfortunately, I didn't get a chance to send it to Predator because literally, when we say last minute, it was last minute. But we're going to lead the questions, so don't worry about that. So let's open up the show with a little bit of news. If people who have been coming to the chat have noticed, there's a join button. And yesterday, I finally took the dive and I started channel memberships. It's something that YouTube has been after me for the last couple of weeks. I've gotten about 6 emails, and I kind of was on the fence about it. And then I've talked to some people within the community that I really respect and I trust privately. And I got advice from them, and that's why I decided to do it. It's only one tier, and it's $5 a month. You can get badges for how long you're part of this the Double Barrel channel, as well as super cool emojis. Now the emojis, when I first started out, I didn't pick good emojis. I'm going to be honest with you, because I'm not really a technical dude, but thank goodness that I have someone on the panel today that has the skills for days. Of course, we're talking about the graphic god, who was nice enough to design and get me emojis that actually were cool. And we got a new member, and it's Scrubnurse. Thank you so much. That is very, very awesome of you. We have a new channel member today. That is pretty awesome. Thank you for your generosity. But you know what? Let's get into why everyone is here. And I know we're already 16 minutes in, so the show is probably going to end around 12:16. We're going to give you a full 2-hour package. In a story that I pulled from Gaming Bolt, which is one of my favorite sites, Ubisoft's recent discussion on the new Splinter Cell is making news. And according to the head of Ubisoft, this is his direct quote from him: "We have to find the right time to come back big." Now, obviously, I think everybody on this panel, everybody in the chat will agree that holds the same amount of clout as Master Chief, Nathan Drake, or even Mario. In fact, I would dare say that Splinter Cell, the franchise itself, is one of the most important gaming franchises in the history of gaming, right up there with Metal Gear Solid, Gears of War, and The Last of Us. I think that the character and I think the franchise deserve a place in this world, in this gaming world. And more importantly, when you really think about it, we're going to go a whole entire generation without a new Splinter Cell, and it's pretty incredible to think that as many games as Ubisoft cranks out, as many amazing IPs that they carry, Splinter Cell has been nowhere to be found. It's mind-boggling. But you know what? In a new video interview with a Chinese outlet called Gamer Sky, Ubisoft CEO spoke about Splinter Cell yet again, and though he remained reluctant on commenting exactly when we're going to get a new Sam Fisher title, this is what he actually said, and I thought it was pretty interesting, and of course I'm going to get everybody's opinion on the panel. On Splinter Cell, there will be some new type of experiments, but more on different devices, said the CEO. We are working on a lot of brand today to come back big at some point. We can't say when because, it takes time. But we have to find the right time to come back and make an impact. Now, listen, I've been calling it for years. And, I don't mind being wrong. Like, every time there's a big event, there's going to be a blockbuster announcement. I'm like, Splinter Cell, it's coming. Me and Randall Thor have been wrong, so wrong that we should be getting paid for how wrong we've been. But I want to say this, this is the question I have for the panel. In your opinion, just how important is Splinter Cell to gaming, and are you just as upset as I am that we're going to go an entire 6 years in a generation without a new Splinter Cell? And I want to start with our guest, Super G. What are your thoughts on Splinter Cell, and how important is it?
I'm gonna just say this: upset is the PG-13 of the word I want to use, right? So because I love Sam Fisher, man. I go back to the OG Xbox, bro. That was one of the games that kept me on the OG Xbox, because I wasn't a huge OG Xbox fan. I loved PlayStation. Like, I was PS2 for death, but dude, this sucks, man. 6 years. We may go 10 years probably without it. I don't know when they think the right time is to bring Sam Fisher back, because he fits in a fold right now, and his like you said, dude, he is an iconic character, and it's crazy to think that we're gonna go a whole gen without it. And I'm so pissed because I did this thing towards the end of the gen with the 360 that I had Blacklist, and I never finished it because it came out on the tail end, when the Xbox One dropped, and I didn't have time to finish because I was so engulfed in Xbox One and trying to play the games on there, and it fell to the backlog fodder that I currently have over 200 games in the backlog, so it just sucks, man. They need to do something to bring that thing back already.
Yeah, I agree, and that backlog is ridiculous. 200 games. I think everybody will agree that if you buy a lot of games, that unfortunately, if you're into like for instance, if you're into a game like Assassin's Creed Odyssey, I put over 200 hours into that game. Unfortunately, some games they go by the wayside. Yeah, no, I mean, listen, I agree with you 100%. You know, Predator, I want to go to you on this because obviously you're a huge Ubisoft dude, and you know, you like what you of course being ex-military, you obviously have a connection to these military-based games, just same way as I do. But Splinter Cell, Sam Fisher is that kind of a character that deserves his place among the greats, and what's amazing, and it's pretty interesting to think about that we're not probably going to get a new Splinter Cell game until the next consoles, which are going to be monster systems. I can only imagine what he's going to look like. You'll probably be able to see the stubble on his face. Are you just upset as everybody else that we have not heard anything in that? And what are your opinions on a Ubisoft being real gun shy about actually giving us details?
You know, I mean, I love the Splinter Cell franchise, but I came to peace with them not releasing the game. You know, after hearing about it like for so many years, like, oh, this is the E3 they're gonna release it. This is the E3 they're gonna talk about it, and it never happening. I kind of said, you know what, forget it. When they show it, they show it. And it's been what, like 8 years, you said. So like, this is my mindset. I'm gonna get my expectations up so much for this game that I think that when they actually release it, it's gonna be a letdown for me. Because I've been waiting on it for so long. It happens with every game I feel that way about. I think they should release a Splinter Cell. Don't get me wrong on that. It's an iconic franchise, but a lot of people have seemed to have forgotten about it. You know, like us that have played it, the original Splinter Cells that came out years ago, we're good. But this next generation coming up, they've never touched that game.
Yeah,
they've never seen it. They don't know what it's about, and it's going to be a little different for them. So I don't know if it's going to, like, again, nostalgia for us. Like we'll get it, but like this new generation may have like no clue what it is. You know, they like those fast paced games. Like this Splinter Cell is like a slow paced, playing your avenues, strategize a little bit. But I love Splinter Cell. If they release it, it's a day one buy for me. But I'm just kind of like, you know, like this, if you're gonna release it. Stop talking about it. Just do something about it. You know.
No, I agree. I think you're 100% right. Again, when that's going to be, I hope that they've been like secretly working on some stuff so it doesn't take 3 years to come out. Because if you, I don't want to wait till 2023. You know what I'm saying? I think it's ridiculous.
Like 10 years by then.
Yeah. Exactly. At that point, it's going to be really ridiculous.
That was what I was saying when we said like we didn't get one this generation, and we may, you know, like it's going to take a few years for them to put one out. So if it's already 6 years into this, and it still take like 2 or 3 years to make the game, we ain't going to see one for a while. It sucks. It's horrible.
Yeah, 8, 9, 10 years. I think that at this point it's ridiculous. And again, I say that because Ubisoft is talented. They have a lot of studios.
Absolutely.
We're not talking about a developer / publisher that has one development house that has to work on one game. They have a lot of games in the pipeline. There's just no real excuse that Sam Fisher. I mean, listen, I'm not a game designer, so what the hell do I know? But I know that it's not easy to come up with a Tom Clancy story. It's not. But at the same time, they've done it. They've had numerous Splinter Cells,
and nobody asked for Gods and Monsters, but it's coming out.
Yeah, well, there you go. But listen, I want to move on to Zemi Games. Zemi, listen, I don't know what your connection is with Sam Fisher, or even if you know who he is, because obviously you're the youngest guy on the panel, but at the same time, he's such an iconic character. You might know who he is. What are your opinions on them being so coy about, you know, referring to Sam Fisher as something that's going to be, you know, sooner than later?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's exciting, and I have played Splinter Cell games before. I played them a lot, like whenever I was younger, and I wasn't really into like the slow, stealthy games. But I love tactical shooters like Rainbow Six, Ghost Recon, and I like, you know, a lot of like the older Ubisoft games. So I actually would be very interested to see a new Splinter Cell come out to play it, because, like I said, I'm more into like the stealth genre of games now and whatnot. And like whenever they say, we're waiting for the right time. Well, when exactly is that? I mean,
yes,
because
great point.
they released 3 or 4 Splinter Cell games on the Xbox 360. They haven't released anything on this. So, like, when exactly are you saying we're waiting for the right time? That's just, I don't know. I just don't really see any excuse in it. Just kind of like what you said, Boom. But one thing that does kind of have me, like, whenever you were introducing the topic, you mentioned how they are experimenting with other devices. That kind of has me scared, because if a Splinter Cell game came out, I would want it to be a console game. And whenever they said devices,
You're thinking
it just
phone.
I was thinking mobile game. I was thinking Diablo 4 is not going to happen. Here's a mobile game though. That's what I was thinking about. And how big of a letdown would that be? At Gamescom, like this year or next year, or E3 next year, for them to announce, like throw up Splinter Cell like on a big stage, and and then tell everybody that's a mobile game, which I don't think would be too shocking to happen, because we've seen it, countless times before. But ultimately, I hope that they get their act together. I hope that they create a good story, and I hope that we can all play Splinter Cell here.
Yeah, I'm gonna say this: the one thing that I enjoyed about the Splinter Cell's games as they advanced in the years is it went from just being it actually went from being like an atypical single player game to what you would expect from like a Microsoft title, right? You got your 12, 14, 16 hour campaign, right? You played as Sam Fisher, you saved the world, or you didn't, whichever. But then they have Mercs versus Spies, which was amazing. It was 2v2. I think that with the way gaming has advanced in the last couple of years, they could make it 5v5. They could make it. There's a lot of room for this title and that mode to grow. And again, I put it to you this way, and I, of course I'm going to get Hyena Den's opinion on this. The fact that we have all been like chomping at the bit to get a new Splinter Cell. I think the cheap way you can satisfy people that are potentially not going to get a new Sam Fisher title for another 2 to 3 years, let's just say, right? Why not remaster Splinter Cell 1 and put it out as a, what I'm saying, like go in there and remaster that entire, get someone that's other than Ubisoft that you can hire that's done remasters in the past. Get that team that did that Sony remaster with what was that?
Like Bluehole, right?
Yes, yeah. Thank you, dude. Appreciate that. Get Bluehole to do a Splinter Cell original remaster from the ground up. Pay them whatever they have to pay, and you can satisfy your Splinter Cell crowd while you, at the same time, work on something new. I don't get it. Hyena Den, would you agree with that assessment?
Absolutely. Also, Lee, I think the company you were looking for is Blue Point Games.
Oh, okay.
I would 100% like co-sign Blue Point remastering any of the previous games as a way to satiate that appetite that people have for like a newer game on the horizon, because I've said before, we do not know the timeline for a next gen game. It could be at the launch, it could be 2 years down the line, it could be 5 years down the line. And some people, they technically they've already waited a long time this gen, and that never really happened. But nothing really stopping these people from waiting longer. But it's one of those things where like the people waiting for Fable to return. You got that news about the game they were working on this gen, then it got canceled. Now there's news coming back about Fable, and it's like people are just getting teased with a string, basically.
Yeah, it's definitely the carrot on the stick scenario for sure.
I like Splinter Cell as a franchise. I played bits and pieces of it during the OG Xbox era and the 360 era. I think what they have is a very solid core. I just don't know exactly how it would fit around their current mold of games, like the Assassin's Creed, or your Far Cry's.
Or Rainbow Six.
I think they do. Yeah. Or that too. Yeah, I think that they have a task ahead of them of trying to make a Splinter Cell game where it keeps people happy because it's still faithful to what the core is. But at the same time, they can try and implement some new things into it. So, they can also, broaden that franchise even more.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. And it's funny because I've had Randall Thor, who everyone in the chat should know. Everybody on the panel probably knows. I've had him on the show a couple of times. I've talked with Rand when he's been on Crossfire, and he actually knew someone that played the game, played the next Splinter Cell, and apparently that Splinter Cell got canceled. Now, why? I don't think we're ever gonna really know, but. I don't know. I mean, it's pretty interesting to think that, again, a character as iconic as Sam Fisher is basically not even a designated pitcher or hitter. The guy is just like, hey, go hold my beer. You know what I'm saying? That's what Ubisoft is having him do. And I don't know. Graphic God, I want to go to you on close out this particular topic, because obviously you run an old school kind of a channel, and you appreciate where we've come from and where we're at now. In your opinion, do you think that it's almost like a travesty of justice that we have not seen or heard anything from a new Splinter Cell?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Splinter Cell has a real special spot in my heart. It was one of the first OG Xbox games that I played. And when I played that game for the first time, the graphics were above and beyond anything I've ever seen with the lighting and stuff like that. And since then, I've been a huge Splinter Cell fan. If you look back on my shelf, if you could see, back there I've got Blacklist, I've got Double Agent, I've got Conviction. They're all sitting on my shelf. I've played every Splinter Cell game. I have been one of those people that have been waiting for them to announce a new one. And if they can keep on pumping out Metal Gear games and they're successful, why can't there be another Splinter Cell with new technology, advanced graphics, a new premise? And as you guys were saying, there's so much going on in the world now. They could tie it all in with what's actually happening in the world now, make it relevant, and people would jump on that. I know they would, and I've been missing one. But when it comes to developers not giving out a lot of information, I'd be the last person to criticize that, because I've been the person that's been saying I'm okay with they're not, and not to jump subjects here, but I've been okay with them not showing a ton of stuff from Gears 5 because I like surprises.
Right.
If they're waiting to have something that is mind blowing to show us, and they just haven't had it yet, then I'm willing to wait.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with you. I mean, obviously, because we're all dying for a new Splinter Cell, we don't want it to be half-cocked in any way. You don't want them rushing something out the door and slapping a sticker that says, Splinter Cell, the world ends. You want it to be a quality title, and that's the one thing that is exciting for me personally, and I believe everyone in the chat and on the panel will agree that when we get the next Splinter Cell, even if it is 2 or 3 years from now, when that game releases, graphically, it's going to be like something we've never experienced. And if they could, it
definitely will be. I totally agree. It's going to be something like that time when we first plugged it into our OG Xbox. It's going to be like, holy shit.
Yes. I mean, look, I'll put it to this way: if they could match those graphics with a compelling, original, thought-provoking story, and then obviously back end that with amazing multiplayer, you're going to have a Game of the Year contender. There's just no doubt about it. But you know what? This has been a great topic, and I'm glad we opened the show with it, because I've been dying to talk about Splinter Cell. But I want to talk about an event that's happening next week. Gamescom 2019 is nearly upon us, and it is Europe's biggest gaming show that's equivalent to E3 here in the States. And just for comparison, just so people understand how big this show actually is for the European community. In 2019 E3, which of course both Super G and myself we happened to go to, saw 66,000 people attend. Then you're like, wow, boom, that's a lot of people. Well, not really, okay? Because I pulled the numbers for Gamescom 2018 for the show, because obviously 2019 has not happened yet. And in the time frame of August 21st through the 25th, okay, 4 days, 370,000 people attended. Okay? Do you understand the numbers? How 5, 6, 7 times the amount of what E3 2019 had? So this is going to be big. And why it's going to be even bigger is because Jeff Keighley, which a lot of people, they don't like him because of that Xbox thing he pulled a couple of years ago with the X, and I still kind of put him on he's not on the pay no mind list. I give Jeff a lot of credit. He works really hard. He loves the industry. Unfortunately, he loves part of the industry more than he loves others. We know his affection for Sony, and that's fine. That's why everyone's entitled to their opinion. But he is running a show very similar in size, scope, and scale to what he does when he does the Game Awards at the end of the year, which is exciting because, listen, we're all gamers, right? This is why we tune into these shows. This is why I write these shows. You want to talk about video games. The more shows, the more chances we're going to get to hear about new games that we might have not heard of. And apparently, his show is called Opening Night Live. And that's going to be happening on Monday at 8 p.m. CEST time, 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and 11 a.m. Pacific Time, which is the West Coast. And that's happening Monday the 19th. And there are supposed to be over a dozen world premieres, which means that these are going to be games shown that we've never seen before, we've never heard of. These are the confirmed developers and publishers. You have 2K, Activision, Bandai Namco, Bungie, Capcom, EA, Epic Games. You have Sega, Square Enix, Sony Interactive is going to be there, which is pretty interesting. THQ, Ubisoft, which of course it's not going to be. I tell you right now, it's not going to be Splinter Cell, and I'm not biting on that carrot. And you're going to have Xbox Game Studios, which just put out a tweet saying that they're going to be announcing 3 big things. Now, a lot of people that were in the chat yesterday for the Xbox Factor podcast were all in agreement that it's probably going to be a studio announcements, which wouldn't surprise me. I want a little bit more. I'm hoping that we know we're going to see Horde. We know we're going to see, due to public pressure. I'm glad that Rod Ferguson agreed to show off the single-player campaign in the trailer. I'm very excited for that. I think everybody is as well. But my question to the panel, okay, is this. With these premieres, they're all going to probably be from AAA developers. And of course, I don't have to read the list again. We know who they are. Oh, I'm sorry. You know what? I actually misquoted. I said 12. It's actually going to be 15 world premieres. I'm actually looking at the notes now. So here's my question for the panel. What are you expecting from the likes of Sony, Nintendo, Microsoft, as well as all of the developers I talked about? And what do you want to see announced? And I want to go to my guest first, of course, Super G. What are you expecting from Gamescom? And what are your hopes and dreams for this show?
I just want it to be a great show because the last couple Gamescom haven't been that great to me. I want to see. My biggest thing is I want to see Capcom reveal Resident Evil 3.
Yes,
that's like a pipe dream, but that's my biggest dream. If they do that, I don't care what else is shown. Gamescom is a win for me because that's what I want to see. I don't really expect anything from Sony because they got their shows or rumored shows that they have planned out. Nintendo's not really. If not doing Nintendo Direct, they're not really doing anything. And then Microsoft is going to show wherever they show, which I hope, which possibly is going to be a new acquisition. But I don't know, man. I just want to see Resident Evil 3, dude. After Resident Evil 2, that's just my biggest hope. Because currently, Resident Evil 2 is my game of the year. So.
Yep, mine too. My goodness, we're like right on the same wavelength here. Yeah, I actually have heard. I mean, again, I don't have any real connections. I go to forums just like everybody else, and it has been said that Resident Evil 3 is going to be the game that they show. There's also been talk on the 4G forums that 4chan forums. I'm sorry, the 4chan forums that a new Dino Crisis is what's going to be shown. So I don't know which one it is. I'm going to put it to this way.
That'd be dope too. I welcome that too.
Yeah. There are 3 franchises that would have me fall over on my chair if Capcom announces. And Resident Evil 3, I'm falling over. Dino Crisis, that's it. Call the ambulance. And to resuscitate me, if they announce a new Onimusha, boom, on the floor.
You know what?
Gone.
I thought you were gonna say Lost Planet because I'm a big Lost Planet fan. I love Lost Planet and I miss Lost Planet. So they need to do something with that too.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. Those are great picks. I want to go to Zemi Games. Zemi, listen, we were talking a little bit about this show prior to going live. And we know Microsoft is going to be there in a big way. They said it. They said the word big. Now, I just hope it's not donuts and another controller. I don't think it's going to be, but you never know. What are your thoughts about the big show being almost a 6-to-1, ratio versus Gamescom versus E3, and more importantly, what do you want to see there? And I know the answer, but what do you want to see there?
I think it's going to be a big, huge, amazing show. Personally, I kind of think that Xbox is definitely going to release or announce them acquiring a new studio. But personally, I would love to see some more news on the xCloud. Possibly, maybe a little bit more information on, a possible release date when consumers can expect to use that service and everything. But from what I really want to see, I want to see the word Fable somewhere on some screen, during that event. Like, I want to know 100% that a Fable game is currently being worked on. That's just me.
The dream of dreams.
Exactly. And another thing that I'm
honestly,
really,
there would be no better.
Go ahead.
Better place to announce it than Gamescom. That's how I feel, because of like the whole Europe and like kind of like Fable's like a European themed game, So it'd probably be no better place to announce it than there. But go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, I hope it gets announced, and probably like the final thing. Like, this is the thing. If they announce this, it will be my Christmas. Like, that's all I want, really. For the longest time, I've been talking about it multiple times on this podcast. There was a leaked Harry Potter game called Harry Potter Magic Awakened. I want that to be announced. I just do. Like, I need that game in my life. From what I've seen, what I've known from all the leaks and the rumors of the game, I need that.
Yeah, first of all, I love Harry Potter. I love. I never read the books. I've only enjoyed the films, which is I know I got to read the books, and everyone will tell me that. And I of course to get a game on the scope of something like, let's say, The Witcher 3, right? Or even Assassin's Creed Odyssey or Origins. Get that big open world. The fact that you're not playing as Harry Potter, you might meet him. I'm assuming you're going to meet some epic characters from the game. But the fact, from what we've heard, and you've actually brought this to my attention, that it's not that you're going to be designing your own character to do this Wizarding World, missions and stuff. Oh, man, that would be epic, because the magic and the lore and the scenery, it would be something special. So I knew that's where you were going. I absolutely knew it. But I
need that game.
Yeah, I know you need that game in your life. I think a lot of people might agree with you on that. And if that game does come out, I can tell you right now, Sammy will not be playing anything until that game is destroyed. So your backlog will triple in size. But Predator, I want to go to you, dude, because obviously, notoriously, Xbox has not done well in the last couple of years at Gamescom, right? We know the donut incident. We know the Disney incident, with the couch. But they understand that they need to do better. Okay, we know that we're getting the Gears campaign trailer. That's a big deal. A lot of people don't understand how big of a deal that is, and I think that was all due to public pressure. I think they know they effed up. There's no doubt about it. We're going to get a big chunk of Horde. Horde, from what I understand, is going to be playable on the show floor, so that's pretty amazing for the people that are attending. And we have a lot of these big time AAA developers and / publishers going to be there. What would you want to see, and what are you expecting from this show, from both Microsoft as well as all the other developers?
For Gears especially, I was hyped that they're actually bringing gameplay this time. So that was one of my high points. The studio acquisitions. I think if they're gonna acquire a studio, that at least it be a big studio, not one of these little smaller studios they've been getting lately. And you know, my wish is that they, I think Zimmy said this, like Fable. If you're gonna make this game, if it's in the works, tell us so we can stop speculating about it.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm looking forward to seeing some Ghost Recon multiplayer because that's my shit. But outside of that, like I don't really have a lot of expectations for anything else that wasn't already announced at E3. We're just gonna get more of it. Maybe some announced dates for some of the stuff Sony has coming out. But I mean, I don't know. I'm not really hyped on Gamescom. Maybe because it's over there and not over here. So I do like to follow up and see what's going on with it. I will try to watch it this year because I usually miss it since it's on pretty early in the morning here. So I'll definitely tune in. But like everything everybody else has said so far, those are all good choices as well.
Yeah, actually, real quick, I got to shout out Darkstalker 4 in the chat. If you're a Capcom fan, your name rocks because I love Darkstalkers. He says he wishes that EA would announce a Mass Effect trilogy. Listen, I know the game is old. I hear people, but if they did that would be like people would be falling over them, passing out in the aisles. Mass Effect, the trilogy. Again, it's one of those things. Why haven't we seen an HD remaster of that? I listen. It would sell. You could put those 3 games with all its DLC for $60, and people would buy that in freaking droves.
Aren't they all back and pat on Xbox?
They are. But I you know what?
4K.
Not to sound cheap or anything, I don't want to play through them again without achievements. I know that sounds cheap.
Yeah.
I hear you, folks. I understand. But I want to get that. I want to hit 500,000 before my time on this earth is done. And I'm close. I'm like 260,000. So I'm a little past halfway there. But I would actually be really excited for that. Graphic God, I want to go to you next on this one. Gamescom, again, it's a big show, and I think that seeing Jeff Keighley there, where he's doing this presentation, he's having this big show. Just it explains how big of a conference it is, and that a lot of these developers that maybe weren't ready to show at E3, including Microsoft, to some degree, could potentially get so many eyes, especially on the European market, on their new games. What are you expecting, and should people temper those expectations?
Well, the fact that they're overseas and the fact that Jeff Keighley is in charge of this, I'm not getting any hopes that Microsoft is going to be seen in a good light anyway. I'm only an Xbox gamer, really, not because I hate everyone else, just because I focus on one platform. And if you looked at my backlog and my game library, you would understand that I have way too many games, and I just feel that Xbox is enough right now for me. Maybe down the road I'll explore other game consoles. I've been wanting to get a Switch for a while, but like I said, I hope to see something great. If there's an acquisition, terrific. That just means more games in the future,
right?
As for Gears, I'm not going to go back on my word. If a ton of Gears is not shown, I won't be upset because I am so looking forward to that game, and I love surprises. So, and I know that they're going to show some gameplay, and they're going to show some story, and I'm excited about that. But if they don't show a ton and it disappoints people, well, I'm not going to be one of those people that are disappointed because, like I said, I like surprise. And if they show some new gameplay for other consoles, I'm totally expecting them to show some bangers for Sony and Nintendo. I don't know what they would be, if it's another Gears of War or God of War, or if it's another if they show some Uncharted, or if they show some Last of Us. It'll all be great, but I won't be playing those games anytime in the near future, so they're the least of my concern. I'm 99% looking at the Microsoft stuff.
Yeah, that makes
and,
sense.
And like I said, if Jeff Keighley's involved and he's in charge, I just don't. I'm not going to get my hopes up that Microsoft is going to be shown in a great light anyway.
Well, I mean, that's the thing that maybe I forgot to mention it. They're doing it inside Xbox there, so they're going to have their own show.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Jeff Keighley's not. He's not going.
No, he's not running that show. He has his own event going on. Right. That's like a jump off of, event. It's called Opening Night Live. But right. Microsoft themselves is doing an Inside Xbox from Germany. So right. They're going to have, an hour and a half show, I would imagine. And they've already said that they're going to have 3 big announcements. Now, supposedly, though, there's something being announced on Jeff's show as well. So Microsoft is going to be, playing both ends of the stick, so to speak. They're going to.
What's going to be announced on Jeff's show is the price of the new console.
Well, let's hope not, because it's 18 months out, so let's hope that he doesn't do that. But I want Hyena Den to close out this particular topic. This was a lot of fun because I like hearing what people are hoping for. For me, and Super G really just hit it on the head, a Resident Evil 3 remake announcement. And we know that they're working on it. It's been basically confirmed. We just haven't seen it. Nemesis, for me, is my favorite character of all time. Resident Evil, the franchise, is my favorite all time. Resident Evil 2, like Super G's, is my game of the year 2019. So anything from Capcom, for me, is exciting. What do you want to see from a particular company, and what are your expectations for this big show?
Ooh, it's so hard to gauge these shows sometimes because, when looking back retrospectively at, past E3s, past Gamecoms, some of them were, amazing, stellar, roof blown over, and others were, subpar. That's just how, the cookie crumbles, unfortunately. With this Gamescom, as just another show. And it doesn't necessarily mean I'm not excited for it, because there are games that I do want to see more of. I know Bleeding Edge is going to be there because I can't get into the the alpha. No matter how many times I try and get into it, this is at least a nice opportunity to see more of the game. And the same can be said for Blair Witch, that's coming out in the next week or so.
I know, and Zemi's been Zemi hit me up in the DM privately. He says we can't wait to play.
No,
the game looks amazing.
No, big no.
Oh, man.
There's a lot of games to really look forward to when it comes to Gamescom that they will be showing more of in Inside Xbox. And obviously the highlight of all of that for me personally is the Gears of War campaign.
Yeah.
I wasn't one of those people where I said I was super disappointed when it came to what they showed in 2018 at E3 and 2019 at E3. Obviously it's good to show more, and they're definitely going to do that. I thought the cinematic trailer that they showed in 2018 was absolutely gorgeous. That when I saw that, I'm like, I'm not even worried about the game at this point. That was more than enough for to show me the scope and depth of the game. So obviously they're going to be showing more on Jeff Keighley's panel, I think, a few hours after Inside Xbox.
Yes.
So it'll be good for the people that are very keen on seeing more of Gears 5 campaign and Horde mode as well. As far as we've heard rumblings about studio acquisitions again from people like Rand, people like Clobriel, saying that in their mind, without a shadow of a doubt, they still picture at least one acquisition left in 2019. And I'm not entirely sure if Gamescom is the place for that. I think if any place is the right place to do that, it would definitely be EXO in the next few months. To kind of try and repeat last year, but try and do that better.
Yeah, that's true. It's definitely true.
But then at the same time, like I can't rule out Gamescom either, because for myself, whenever I go back and think of studio acquisitions that are perfect for Microsoft, a lot of them are German. Like you look at, or not just German, but European in general. You look at somebody like 4A Games that made the Metro series, or Crytek.
Yes.
If you're going to announce a Crytek acquisition, Gamescom is literally the perfect place for that. But it just depends on what somebody's looking for. For me, I think it's going to be a well-rounded, decent show that'll show people more information on games that we already know about, and there might be some more surprise Game Pass games on the horizon, because August isn't up yet. We still got a few more weeks left.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely correct on that. I mean, listen, the thing that Clobriel started, you mentioned him, and I talk about him on the Xbox Factor podcast regularly, because he's in my opinion, an Xbox insider. He's been right more times than not. And he obviously has an inside connection somewhere. What that connection is, I don't know. But all I know is that in the middle of this year, he had put out a hashtag 20 in 2020. Meaning, and he broke down what that meant, that he believes, according to sources he spoke with, or that he got information from, Microsoft will have, in fact, 20 first-party developers by the end of 2020. They have 15 currently. Another few, one or two more, for 2019, and then maybe a couple of bigger ones in 2020 to kind of round out that, to make that number come true. That's definitely going to be interesting. But for me, I'm excited because it's another show. It's another opportunity to get on here and do a show, do a podcast, talk with the fans, talk about what happened. I'm currently figuring out when I'm going to do a show on Monday. I don't think I'm going to do a show during the day. I think it's going to be at night. I will be making an announcement who's going to be on that panel and what the show is going to be called, but it's basically going to be breaking down everything that happens at Gamescom, everything that happens at Inside Xbox, and just if you follow me on Twitter, or if you're new to the show, it's at MrBooMStickXL. I'll be making a big announcement there on when and how I'm going to cover what happens on Monday. But I want to move on to the next topic. But before I do, I have to thank Errol Channer in the chat for the outstanding $2 super chat. Thank you so much for being here. So let's move on to the next topic, which is I'm excited to talk about. And I think Zemi is going to be excited to talk about this because we're going to go back and forth. In a story that's been making headlines since way back in 2018, and a new article that was just pulled from the pages of GameRant.com, Montreal WB is going to be at Gamescom. The question that everyone is asking, what are they announcing? Now, according to the article, speculation has exploded about the possibility of WB Montreal making a new game announcement at Gamescom. It makes sense. They've been out of the picture for quite some time. Well, the game that is supposedly going to be announced is the next Batman Arkham game titled The Court of Owls. Now, if you don't know what that story is, I'm here to tell you that it is probably one of the best written Batman books in the history of Batman books being written. Of course, I'm referring to comics, but I call them books because they're telling a story. It's the same thing. They're just thinner. That particular run was one of the most incredible Batman stories I think ever told. I mean, people who are comic fans are going to probably argue with me on that. But what's very interesting, and why people like myself, people in the chat, are psyched out of their minds, and I want to take you back to 2018 because this is where this story originated from. The studio's production coordinator, Valerie Vazina, posted a photo on Twitter, which unfortunately was immediately taken down, where she was wearing a shirt, and on the back of the shirt, it's a picture of her turned around. On the shirt is the Court of Owls insignia, and she said something to the effect of, take a look at this. Now, she's at WB. She holds a production coordinator position. When you're wearing a shirt like that and you put it out on social media, people are going to go ape shit. And I was one of them. And since then, there has not been any real talk. Let me just say this: if you are new to gaming, let's say, for instance, you've only started gaming recently and you missed out on all of the Arkham games, there is no doubt that the Arkham series has single-handedly not only brought back superhero titles, but redefined what a game looks, plays, and should eventually tell a story. And the Arkham Knight series, well, the Batman Arkham series, has been nothing short of amazing. And it's a series, unfortunately, that has been dormant for quite some time. It's another head-scratcher, folks, because the last game, Arkham Knight, was released on June 23rd of 2015. And we're going into 2020 in just a couple of months. That's 5 freaking years without a Batman title. Like, it blows my freaking mind the same way it does with Splinter Cell. But with all of that said, the new title that could potentially be a Court of Owls storyline, why that's important and why that has relevance is because many people in the chat and probably some people on this panel have always been hoping and wishing that there'd be a multiplayer Batman game, like a co-op Batman game, which I think would be ridiculously awesome. And in that particular story, the Court of Owls storyline, the Bat family was heavily involved. Batgirl, Nightwing, his son Damian. Everybody from the Bat family was involved in this story, and the ideology that we could possibly be able to play other characters within the Batman family outside of Batman gets me super pumped. So, of course, I know what, Hyena Den, I want to go to you first on this because, you had a lot to say about Splinter Cell not having a title in 5 years, and now we're talking about Arkham, which is one of the, I mean, if you look back to when it came out on the 360, it was a game that for me anyway, defined the genre, but also the generation. And Arkham Knight, even though a lot of people didn't like it as much as some of the other ones because of the Batmobile, not having a new Batman seems especially odd. What are your takes on this and the possibility of a new one being announced by Montreal WB?
I think it's imminent as we speak. Like, I think it's one of those situations where, like, we're talking about Fable, and I know I keep drawing comparisons to that game, but I think it's more of a situation of need to align. Like, it needs to be the right time and place to do certain things. Like they're never going to announce Fable at a very tiny inside Xbox in the month of March, right? And the same thing I think can be applied to WB Montreal's next game. I think they're waiting for that perfect opportunity and that perfect event to unveil their next project for next gen, and it'll probably be a cross-gen game. But outside of that, I think it's just more of a situation of waiting for the perfect time to unveil their project. Now, whether that's Gamescom or XO or, maybe even a PlayStation experience or next year's E3, nobody knows for sure. But I think we are getting closer and closer to, I don't think it's that far away, at least unveiling wise.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think, as the years start to stack on top of each other, when you talk about something that's been 2 years removed from a title coming out, you don't expect a title release or even for people to talk about it because it was just 2 years ago. The more you get further away from its last release, and of course, June 23rd of 2015 was a lifetime ago for me anyway. It's 5 years. It's more than 5 years, and it's ridiculous. But I do agree with you. I do think that an announcement from that studio that made the that made a game that a lot of people just, when you talk about the Batman Arkham series, you only talk about Rocksteady, and I think that's extremely unfair, because the game that Rocksteady didn't make, I actually enjoyed almost as much as Arkham City. I thought that what Montreal WB did with their Batman game was just as good, possibly better, and that's my opinion. But Graphic God, I want to go to you on this, because I don't know what your take is, how big of a Batman fan you are. But again, comparing it to Splinter Cell, the fact that it's been removed for so long, do you think that now is the right time, and maybe because this show has so many eyes on it, it's the right show to announce a new Arkham game?
I think anytime's a good time to announce a new Arkham game. I loved all of the Arkham games except for the one you mentioned, Arkham Knight. And the reason I didn't like Arkham Knight was the Batmobile. I hated being
forced,
being pigeonholed into that vehicle and not being able to proceed in the game unless you finish those parts. And I absolutely hated getting stuck in a corner with all those little tanks shooting me, and me just not knowing what to do and who. I kept getting killed. They should have made it optional.
Yeah, I agree.
They should have made it optional. And if the next game comes out and they announce vehicles again, and they announce that, well, I don't think they'll announce that it's going to be, you're going to need to use these vehicles to proceed in the story. But if that's the case, then I'm out, because not only was Batman one of my favorite, probably my favorite superhero game of all time, and I'm a huge superhero fan, it was one of the most influential games of this and last generation.
Yeah.
Think about all the games that came out after, which copied the fighting, copied the the list goes on. We can start off with the Lord of the Rings. Those games they took directly from Batman. Spider-Man took directly from Batman. Mad Max took directly from Batman. There are probably another 10 games that I'm not even thinking of, but those are the games now that are really, really popular, that did really well, and all pulled from that same formula. You've got stealth, you've got awesome fighting, you've got gadgets. I mean, what else do you want? You've got flying, basically.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, absolutely. And you got comic book quality storytelling.
Exactly, and voice acting.
Yes, of course, absolutely.
We're talking Kevin Conroy and Mark Hamill for the most part. You can't get better than that.
On a side note, it's funny you mentioned those two actors. On a bit of a side note, if you are a WB fan and you watch the superhero TV shows, the Flash, the Arrow, Kevin Conroy is going to be playing Batman. More specifically, he's going to be playing the old Bruce Wayne on the Crisis on Infinite Earth, which starts in September. I am freaking stoked out of my mind.
Like the Warner Brothers shows, they totally are playing to the fans.
Yes,
so
they are.
Much. Yep. I mean, from even bringing back the original character that played Flash in the 90s, bringing him back as the father, and then also playing him as an alternative Flash, phenomenal.
Like Jay Garrett.
Yeah, Jay Garrett. Yeah, how can you get better than that?
It's a shame that the TV shows do better than the films.
And I also heard that I can't remember the actor's name who played Superman in Superman Returns.
Oh yeah, Brandon Roth.
Brandon Roth is going to be playing another Superman.
Yes, he is. It's gonna be epic. It's definitely gonna be a lot of fun. But you know what? I agree with you about the vehicle combat. More times than not, I got blown up by those little tanks. Even though the Batmobile felt like it was just like on an ice rink. I wasn't the biggest fan of it. And you're right. You did feel like you were pigeonholed into doing that. Super G. I know you're a huge comic book fan.
Yep.
And of course, when I was putting this show together, I had you in mind also. Just a bit of a real quick programming update. Now, I'm not sure how many people actually go to his site and know who he is, but War Stew was scheduled to be a guest. Now, that guy, if you don't want check out his YouTube channel and you're a superhero fan, I say shame on you. The guy's closing in on 75,000 subs, which is a big deal. But because his content is so freaking good, if you're a superhero fan, you should definitely go check it out. He was supposed to be a guest on today, and that's why I kind of built the show around people who enjoy comics, because you want to have fun with the panel members. He unfortunately had some scheduling conflicts that came up at the last minute. And, I did some advertising. He was going to be on the show. If you were here and looking for him, we've already talked privately this morning. He will be back on in a future episode of Breakfast with Boom, making his debut. But getting back to Super G, again, when I was looking up your stuff, because I do an investigation on who I'm going to have on the show so I can write the proper intro, it says that you're a big comic fan, and that's why I was excited to talk about this particular topic, because obviously the Arkham series is the pinnacle of gaming. I mean, it's one of the most sought after and played Batman games ever. And to know that we could possibly and potentially get an announcement as big as the Court of Owls from Montreal, WB, which again, the picture I sent everyone shows her wearing the thing. She's wearing the shirt. I mean, they're probably working on it. What are your excitement levels for the fact that we could get a Court of Owls game?
All right, my excitement level's through the roof, man. I don't even know where to begin, because, like you said, like everything you guys said about the Batman games is absolutely correct. I hated the tank. I hated the Batmobile, dude. It was horrible. It was like the worst part of that game. I put Origins above Arkham Knight. Arkham Knight is probably the worst one to me. I love Arkham City. And the fact that Court of Owls is one of the best stories that's ever been written, hands down. It was the shining light in the New 52s. The New 52s wasn't that great, but that story alone, like, saved it for me. Just everything about that story, how the villains came about, getting released. If you guys don't know about the story, they got all released from Arkham. Batman had put down an insurrection. He was saying that, hey, I'm going to pull all of them away. This is my plan. But along the way, they were framing, Nightwing, and they were just pulling so many different things. But the fact that we may get it and they play co-op, and we already touched on playing with other characters within that Arkham universe. Like, we played with Catwoman, we played with Red Hood.
Yes.
And, like, just the dynamics of those characters and the way they can, like, feel so different from Batman, like, it's fantastic. So imagine, like, playing with, like you said, Damian Wayne's version of Robin. Like, he's so different from Dick
and
Grayson's
he's ultra violent,
Robin.
by the way.
Exactly. He's insane. Like, he has this attitude, that's just like, that's crazy, man. And, like, just the thought of possibly being able to play with those different characters and see them interact on screen, along with, like, the crazy villains you'll get, like, along with the Court of Owls, like Talon and stuff like that.
Yes.
Like,
Yeah.
Man, it'd be insane, bro. It'd be insane. The storytelling would be crazy. If they make it in the vein of, like, Arkham City, I'm all for it, dude. All for it, man. I could go on and on about this, but I'll take too much time.
No, it would have to be as big, at minimum, as big as City, as Arkham.
Yeah, no doubt.
It would have to, because this tale really kind of goes all over Gotham. And
it does.
And to have to have that many people, that many characters from the Bat family involved, and the possibility of co-op. See, I think as great as amazing and unbelievable as Court of Owls is, and it's probably my favorite Batman story. I'm actually reading it again on my not my Nook, my Amazon tablet, because I love watching. You've seen the color, the big color pieces come up, but with that said, it has to be that big if they're going to incorporate the thing.
Yeah, that story is huge, man. Because
Yeah.
it goes back, like, even further than Bruce Wayne's dad, dude. It goes to his grandfather, like.
Yeah,
like,
it
Court of
goes
Owls been
way.
around
Yeah.
for years, man. It's crazy. It's like, oh my gosh, dude. Like, if they do that story, I'm gonna lose it. Like, I'm gonna lose it for real.
I'll be honest with you. The story is the story is so big that it's probably why it's taking so long. I mean, they have to get it right. Plus, the size of the size of the game has to be big, because if it's going to be co-op, it's gonna require a big area of play, which I'm very excited about. Predator. Before I get to you, I have to thank Crazy Mate Gaming with the outstanding $5 super chat. He says, "Hey, Boom, just got paid today, and so I'd support you. You do an amazing job, and I always love the show." Well, thank you, dude. That's very kind of you to say, but more importantly, the generosity is extremely welcomed, and I'm very thankful for it. So thank you so much for being here, but also for being so generous and the kind words. Predator, I want to go to you on this. I don't necessarily know how big of a Batman fan you are, but the fact that we haven't had one in over 5 years is a sad state of affairs. I think everyone wants a strong single player, but possible co-op, Batman in our gaming future. What do you think about this?
I'm not a huge Batman guy. You know me, I don't do comic book
Right.
heroes and stuff like that. I missed all that whole generation of life, right? So, but I did play the Arkham series and I did enjoy it. And you're right. Like, I think stemming off of the success of Spider-Man, and what's going to happen with the Avengers series when it comes out, it only makes sense, and if I didn't want one, everything you guys have said so far have convinced me to want one, because that opening that you did was amazing. Like you sold it just by what you were saying in the very beginning of this topic. So I think we deserve one. I think that the fans of that series deserve one because it's been a while. But I also think, again, like going off the piggybacking off of the success of the other games that have come out that had the comic book theme, this would be a perfect time to release.
Yeah, well, listen, anyone from WB Montreal that's listening, I could use a job in marketing / community manager. So my DM is open, and all of my business links are in the show notes. So hit me up and let's talk, because I wouldn't mind working for WB Montreal. Even if I had to move, I would be no problem with that. But I want to close out, Zemi, You say that you're not the biggest superhero guy, and I totally get that. But one thing that you bring to this show that I greatly appreciate is the fact that you love deep storytelling. And I think that's what you get with these Arkham games, and I think that's what we would get with a actual Court of Owls game that could potentially be huge. What are your opinions on this?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think that a Batman game is definitely likely to come out from Warner Brothers Montreal. However, I need to stay true to my dreams. Like dreams should never be abandoned. And so Warner Brothers also owns the right to the Harry Potter series.
Yes.
And so one of these studios have to be making this game. And, I've kind of narrowed it down in my brain that it's either Montreal or Rocksteady. And so I'm really hoping here that we'll see, the leaked Harry Potter Magic Awaken game at Gamescom, and I'm kind of hoping that it's Warner Brothers Montreal that releases it. However, I mean, I would be more disappointed if it was a Batman game, but I actually have like all the Batman games like in my backlog, and I'm actually kind of wanting to go through and play those. So, I mean, it wouldn't be that bad of a disappointment, but I would be kind of upset. But I'm going to keep the flame in my heart that Warner Brothers Montreal is going to be announcing the Harry Potter game.
I mean, listen, either or, I'll be ecstatic. There's no doubt about it. But for me personally, Court of Owls versus Harry Potter, I have to go with Court of Owls. I'm sorry.
I know.
I know what you want.
So much better. I know, right? Boom, I agree 100%.
Yo, me being a nerd though, I'm torn between them. I love Court of Owls, but I love Harry too, so I get exactly where Zimmy's coming from.
But when was the last time we got a good open world Harry Potter game?
Never.
Right? Never. Okay.
Let me help you out even further. When we had a good Harry Potter game?
Exactly. When was the last time we had a Batman game? 5 years ago. I really want Harry Potter. I just want it so badly.
Yeah, I mean, I listen, I put it this way. It's exciting that they're going to be there. It's exciting that rumors are starting to fluctuate, that they're going to be announcing something. So I think it's a win for fans either way. I mean, regardless of whether you're the biggest Harry Potter fan or the biggest Batman fan, I think that both camps could walk away satisfied if they announce one or the other, or if they really let their hair down, they announce both, which would really make people faint.
That would be awesome.
That really would be something else. Yeah. But I just want to make sure, because obviously this is a big panel. I'm trying to look at the chat, read the notes, and make sure everyone already spoke about the topic, right?
Yep.
Okay. All right. So I just want to make sure because I don't want to leave anybody out. I would feel terribly bad about that. You know what? I want to, again, talking about next topic, bringing up superheroes once again, because obviously I enjoy the superhero games. Marvel's Ultimate Alliance 3 is a huge success for the Nintendo Switch. And obviously, I saw this coming weeks and months before this was going to happen. I knew it was going to be a system seller for sure. But in some very interesting news that follows the actual topic, Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3, The Black Order, launch sales are exceeding expectations according to a new report. The story that I pulled from the pages of segmentnext.com, they're reporting that Benji Sales of Twitter, who I don't know who he is, I am following him now. He claims to have an inside connection to the sales data that tracks this particular game. And he mentioned that Marvel's Ultimate Alliance 3 is on its way to becoming the third biggest video game launch for the Nintendo Switch in 2019. And here's what he said via his official Twitter account. Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3's opening 48 hours is tracking significantly, in all caps, ahead of my expectations for the title in the US. Frankly, I wasn't sure how it would outperform it as pre-release tracking was not that strong. A very impressive launch. Marvel and Nintendo may have a legitimate hit here. He continues with, it's looking possible that the Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3 could be the third biggest Switch launch of 2019 so far, only behind Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe and Mario Maker 2. And this is what he finishes off with his tweets. It's tracking significantly ahead of other big launches on Switch, such as Mortal Kombat 11 and Crash Team Racing, for example. In fact, it does if it does become the third best-selling title, it's going to make Nintendo want to possibly make a sequel. Now, I mean, obviously that makes perfect sense. Now, if you didn't know, and I have unfortunately not gotten this game, I know I should be ashamed of myself. It's just I have to play around with the way money is spent. When you're retired, you get one paycheck and that's it. So you got to be frugal. So I'm going to wait for a sale to pick this up. But Ultimate Alliance 3 has quite a roster of characters from the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And there's a total of 36 playable characters currently, and there's a shit ton of DLC planned that starts in September. Now, with that being said, it's pretty safe to assume that an Ultimate Alliance 4 is going to be made. But here is my question. Currently, there was a top 10 list of characters that they want to see in the next one, right? And then I'm going to get everyone's opinion of who they want to see, and I'll throw mine out there. X-23, Cable, Jessica Jones, Ant-Man, Colleen Wing from Iron Fist, War Machine, Jean Grey, Iceman, Valkyrie, and Quicksilver. These are the top 10 that were picked. They did a poll of who they want. For me personally, I want the Punisher. That's who I want. I think that he would work perfectly in a game like this. But here's the two questions I'm going to have for the panel. And, of course, I'm going to go right to our guest, Super G. Here's my two questions to you. One, should Marvel Ultimate Alliance 4 be a multi-plat? Do you think that's going to be Nintendo's going to lock that down because it's a system seller? And secondly, who do you want to see in the next game?
I think that Nintendo's going to lock it down because of the system seller. And then I mean, as of right now, anything with Marvel's name attached to it prints money. So, like, I mean, I don't know what we expect. I thought it was going to be a success regardless. And I think 4 will probably still be an exclusive to Nintendo because we're also, like, I mean, at first, I got to take an L because I treated this game as like Marvel throwing Nintendo a bone because they weren't going to get the bigger Avenger game that's going to come out on Xbox and PlayStation. So I thought they were just like giving them that one, like, here, you guys take this, so we won't look like we're doing you guys bad by not putting this.
So basically, they were the one in the classroom saying, "Pick me," and I just picked the guy in the back.
Yeah, sort of, kind of, because Square is only going to treat Square is only putting the bigger Avengers game and I don't mean bigger by like scale and budget wise, on the PS4 and the Xbox. So I looked at it like that. So I'll take an L for that, because I was like, nah, that game's not gonna matter, this and that. But that game's like blowing up, and now I want to pick it up. So I haven't really looked that much into it, but to see those sales, it's not shocking. And like you, I didn't know Punisher was on the game, so Punisher will be there for me, and then Blade.
Oh, dude, that's a great one.
Yeah, because I loved Ultimate Alliance 2, and when Blade was on there, and Ultimate Alliance 1, like, it was fantastic, bro. I loved him as a character, so.
Yeah, no,
for X-Men Legends.
Yeah, those are actually fantastic picks, dude. As a matter of fact, it's funny because there's a DLC that's coming out that it's the Sons of Midnight. I think Blade might be a part of that DLC, dude.
That would be dope.
Yeah, I'm almost positive that's the first DLC. I'll have to look up on that when someone else is.
But I'm with you, man. As soon as I can get that game on a sale, I'm getting it.
Yeah, well, that's the one thing about Switch games. They very rarely go on sale, man.
I know, dude. I know. Mario Kart's still like $60.
It's still
it was like a launch title.
It's crazy, bro.
Breath of the Wild 2 is like insane.
Yeah.
I didn't finish Breath of the Wild either.
I mean, look, anyway, again, I thought you would find that question interesting because you are such a big comic fan. Graphic God, I want to go to you next on this. You know, obviously, you talked about it a few minutes ago that you only support Xbox, but you are thinking of getting a Switch, which I think you should, to be honest with you, because it's a great second console.
Yeah, it is. It's fantastic.
Oh, and there's a lot of nostalgia built up, too, because I did play Nintendo back in the day.
Yes, for sure. I mean, it makes sense.
And being able to play all those old games, you know, that is something that's intriguing to me. I know because they have the virtual arcade or whatever it is built onto there, and I heard that they're getting Super Nintendo soon.
Yes.
So, you know, and instead of me just going out and buying the mini systems, which I will as well, I could have access to probably a bigger library by doing it that way. So I definitely want to do it. And just the fact that those controllers, you can get the controllers now that look like the old school control, the old Joy-Cons.
Yep.
Look like cool controllers. I mean, all that is just nostalgia food for me, and of course I'm going to do it.
All right, now getting back to the actual again, do you think that this should stay a console exclusive? You think Nintendo is going to see the writing on the wall and say, no, they're going to treat this like they treat their first party games, because obviously it's been selling like gangbusters, and more importantly, as someone that enjoys superhero games, who would you want to see them bring to the fray?
I do think they will probably keep it. Just for the fact that, you know, exclusive sell consoles. And I understand that everyone will argue with me, say that consoles don't make money, it's the games. Well, you're right. But the more people that have the console out there, the more people that will want to play more of their old library. So I think that is a selling point for them. But to bring to the fray, as in characters for the game, I'm not actually sure about what characters are there now and not. Are the X-Men all there?
No, not all of them. Wolverine is there for sure.
Okay, so I'd bring in the rest of the X-Men for sure, and I would probably bring in the stars of the television shows like Daredevil and Jessica Jones, and I think I remember seeing Luke Cage there.
Yeah, I believe Luke Cage is there.
Yeah, so I'd bring all those guys in, of course, and you know, to stay with the popularity, of course, stay with what people are used to. There are a lot of people out there that don't read comics but love video games and maybe watch shows. So as long as there's a relation there that they can make a relation to, okay, I know this character was from that show I watched, that they'd be more intrigued to want to have them. And you know, like characters like those, that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, I mean, those are good picks. That's definitely good picks, and it makes sense that they would try and keep it locked in, because it like I said, it is going to be, you know, Nintendo does have some really big titles coming out towards the end of the year, so it could drop in that rank, but it's going to be in their top 10. Maybe even their top 5 of games that are exclusive, and I'm a big believer with exactly what you said. To me,
I mean, Nintendo is the king of exclusives.
Yes, they are. Yes,
it's Sony, but it's not Sony. It's Nintendo.
Yeah, no,
You
that's
know?
great. Yeah, that's
No
a great
doubt, the
point.
attach rate on that is insane for Nintendo.
No, it's
It's like,
numbers that's never been seen before. That their
right?
attach rate is ridiculous. Yeah, no
It's
doubt
almost
about
like
that.
1-to-1. Dude, it's crazy.
Yeah, it's bananas. Hyena Den, I want to go to you next on this, dude. I don't know if you have a Switch or are you considering getting it, but more importantly, this was a big deal. This was, in my opinion, one of the biggest surprises for me for Nintendo to get this. I know that they developed this title, and I believe they approached Marvel on this. To get this locked in. It's again, they're doing things that they normally haven't done in the past on other consoles, and obviously the same way that Bayonetta 2 and 3, 3 is eventually going to come out. They were locked down to the Wii and the Switch. It appears that if they do an Ultimate Alliance 4, and it makes sense that because the MCU is hot, that it will stay exclusive to the Switch. Who do you think? Who would you like to see as a character brought in to the next Ultimate Alliance?
Boom, I'm probably one of the worst people to answer questions about anything superhero related. Like, honestly, I could not give you a lineup to save my life on this subject. I have seen gameplay of Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3. And I know a lot of people are really enjoying that game. One of my friends put like something north of 70 hours into the game already.
Wow.
The game looks fun. For myself, it's definitely not something that I would play myself. Even if I did have a Switch, I don't currently, but that's only because I'm struggling to figure out what I want closer by the end of this year. But it's a close three-way tie between a Switch, a capture card, and rebuilding this PC so that I can actually do decent things with it. But the Nintendo Switch is a very hot commodity, and I do love what they're doing with the console. But when it comes to Marvel Ultimate Alliance 4, that does seem like something that Nintendo would probably lock down to be exclusive to their box, probably within the next. It would probably come out 2023, something like that. It. I don't know. It's really difficult to answer questions like this because I'm just so ignorant when it comes to superhero related things.
That's okay, dude. Listen, again, I say this all the time, and I really do mean this. Not every game is for every gamer. People have to understand that. There are going to be genres that people play more than others, that like more than others. For instance, your particular fancy seems to be racing. Like some people will never pick up a Forza Motorsport 7. Some people be like, nah, racing is just not for me. And it's for you. It would be the same way someone saying, yeah, Marvel. You're saying Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3, not so much for me. Someone would be like, well, what are you talking about? It's the greatest game since sliced bread. So, yeah, no, I completely understand. Listen, I definitely appreciate the honesty. Pred, I want to go to you on this. Again, the same thing with the Batman. I know you don't play a lot of superhero games, but the Switch is a hot commodity. There's just no doubt about it. Everyone is enjoying the console. It's selling like hotcakes. This game is doing very well, actually, according to the story, exceeding expectations. Do you think that Nintendo probably has already locked down the sequel, or the potential sequel, as an exclusive on their box? And if you could answer, what character would you like to see them bring to the table? Brad, you there, brother?
Boom, you hear me?
Yep. Yeah, now I hear you.
Okay, sorry. Let me see. I'm like the last guy. I'm not, me, I'm not big in this stuff. But like my guilty pleasure when I was a kid, man, was Wolverine. And you already said he's in there.
Yeah.
My next best guess would be Gambit. He's my other favorite character. So if they could put him in there, that'd be great. As far as them locking it down, I think that's a no-brainer. They should. No, baby, not you. Sorry, my daughter's in here, guys.
That's okay.
But yeah, I think they should if they have the opportunity to. If they, he was just saying a while ago, like you can with Nintendo, they're good for their exclusives, man. They sell, they sell the console. So I think that was Graphic God that was saying something like that a minute ago. So like, I mean, lock it down if they can, especially like in the last topic we just had, we were talking about how the comic book characters are making the killing in the video game market right now, and just everywhere, movies and everything. So go for it. If they have an opportunity to strike it, get it.
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, obviously, if look, I'll put it to this way: if right now being an exclusive for the console, if it winds up showing up in their top 5 of games sold in 2019, you can already smell the ink on the paper. If I was running Nintendo and the guy Bowser seems to be a very smart dude, he would lock this down because it's again, I know that a lot of people are like, well, console sales, like Jay was saying, they don't matter. Yeah, well, I mean, the metrics don't matter as much as they used to. But I can guarantee you that Nintendo is making a profit on each Switch that they sell. So when they do have these amazing console exclusives, whether it be first party, second party, or third party, like Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3, it's moving hardware for them. And they're in a position where by the end, I would imagine by the end of 2019, they're probably going to possibly surpass what Xbox has sold, and that's going to be pretty damning, to be honest with you. So yeah, I definitely lock it down. And Zemi Games, I know again you're not the biggest superhero dude, but your opinion is still as important as everybody else's. In your opinion, should Nintendo lock this deal down to make sure that the next Ultimate Alliance isn't a multi-plat the same way they did with Bayonetta? And more importantly, if you have a choice, who would you like to see in the game?
Yeah, so to answer the first question, I mean, as a business, yeah, I mean, they definitely should. It would be in their best interest to lock it down. Personally, I hope that they don't, not necessarily because I want to play Marvel's Ultimate Alliance, because that's not really a game that I'm interested in. It's just, Marvel's has a huge fan base, and I just think it's kind of wrong for them to make it an exclusive, whereas like if you're a PlayStation fan and an Xbox fan like myself, you wouldn't actually even be able to play that game without going and paying $300 for the system. So as a business choice, I think that they should, but personally myself, I kind of hope that they don't. And then as far as adding characters to it, I haven't played the game, so I don't really know a whole lot. I don't really know exactly who's in the game, but off of the short list that you sent us of what people are requesting into the game, I would probably say like War Machine or Quicksilver probably for me.
Yeah, that'd be a good pick. I like War Machine as a character. He fits right in there with the Punisher and so many others that could be in there. I don't want to spend too much on this topic because obviously, there's some people that don't even own a Switch and they're like, man, not the greatest, and we don't want anyone tuning out. But I want to talk about a story in the next topic that you're only going to find on Breakfast with Boom. A new report has surfaced and was brought to my attention by a website called express.co.uk. And they're reporting something that's very interesting. Apparently, GTA 6 is the release of that game is bad news for PlayStation 4 and Xbox One Grand Theft Auto fans. And here's what I mean by that. Obviously, the PlayStation 5 and Project Scarlet are expected to launch in 2020. The window is closing for GTA 6 to release on current hardware. Now, there have been several reports suggesting that the next Grand Theft Auto game will only be next-gen affair. It would only be a next-gen affair. To be quite frank, and I hope everyone doesn't get offended by this, I'm absolutely okay with that. Why?
Me too.
Why this new information may be true is because Rockstar Games is in no rush to release GTA 6. In fact, they just released new GTA Online DLC called Casino and Resort. And what's more evidence to this fact that GTA 5 once again has made the top 10 NPD sales chart, coming in 4th place. This game is 6 years old, folks. It released on the 360 and PS3 in 6 years ago, and It's still in the top 10, but more crazy, it's in the top 5 NPDs 6 years later. Whereas Red Dead Redemption 2, if you're curious, was placed 12th compared to this old 6-year-old game. Now, obviously, and this is just my opinion, there's absolutely no reason why Rockstar should cannibalize their own franchise by releasing a GTA 6 when GTA 5 is still selling like gangbusters. And here's the thing. If the reports that came out earlier in the year are true, GTA 6 is going to be set across multiple decades, running through the 70s all the way through to the end of the 80s. And the locations, one of which is going to be Vice City, and a fictional city based in Rio de Janeiro, is going to be the other. You're actually going to be leaving the country. The game is going to have to be a big game. I don't think that the current hardware could run it correctly. I mean, I don't think, and as a matter of fact, because I believe that it's only going to be on next gen systems. Why I'm okay with that is because do you really want a game this big, a game this important to any generation that comes out to be chugging along and having clipping issues? I mean, we know Rockstar doesn't make bad games. I mean, that's the honest truth. Even their table tennis game is fantastic, and that was like, where did that come from? But here's my question to the panel, and of course, I want to go to Super G first on this. If the reports wind up becoming true, and I really believe this is going to be the case, are you personally okay with GTA 6 being on the next-gen consoles simply because they're going to be so freaking big?
I'm absolutely okay with it because, I mean, I love GTA. GTA 5, you can see the difference in work when it comes to like Red Dead and looking at GTA 5. And you can still kind of look at GTA 5 even on the Xbox One, PS4, and tell that it's a last gen game. You can see it because I still play GTA 5 currently on my Xbox, and I'm all into the casinos. That new mode is so good, man. It's crazy. But yeah, dude, I'm all for it just going to next gen and being only on next gen because I think with that hardware and what they want to do with it, that's the only way they can do it. Honestly, and like you said, cannibalizing that would suck. So I think they're not gonna announce anything. I don't even think they're gonna announce it. I mean, besides the fact that it's probably gonna be on next gen, I don't think they want to even say anything about it. Honestly.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I put it this way: whenever this game comes out, it's gonna sell like hotcakes.
Dude, especially if they use like the Vice City area, because Vice City is still like, I love San Andreas.
Vice City is probably still my favorite though.
City, Vice City's the best one. The soundtrack, the cars, the scenery. Now imagine that scenery with like the graphics of now, man. It'd be so insane, dude.
Crazy, dude.
It was like playing Scarface, bro. Like that game was so fantastic, so fantastic.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
The soundtrack, dude. That was one of the soundtracks that like I was driving when the game was out, but like I would literally like be driving down my street with the Grand Theft Auto soundtrack like in my car playing, bro, blasting. Like that's how great that soundtrack is.
I mean, well, it's the 80s. The 80s probably had the best music. A lot of people, will disagree with, so music taste is varied.
Yeah,
but
I love the 80s music.
I enjoyed the 80s music, and it's funny because, a quick story about GTA Vice City. My brother and I, Neo Mental, there used to be a place called Dragon's Den in Yonkers that sold video games. Obviously they were around the same times as Funkoland and EB Games and stuff like that. And, we waited online like many people still do to these days, waiting for these releases. And they were handing out razor blade keychains. Now, of course, they weren't real razor blades. They were replicas. But I just remember saying, we just got a razor blade waiting online. This is pretty freaking awesome for a game that was, it was generational divining for sure, because obviously GTA 3, when that game came out, it just completely took over, and Vice City followed it, and it was even more drugs, more violence, more guns, more money. It was it's still again my favorite GTA to date. But I want to go to Graphic God. In your opinion, obviously the systems that we have now, especially if you have an Xbox One X, you understand that it is a powerful system, and I believe that they haven't really even maxed out on its power, because obviously they can only go so far by leaving the other, the S and the OG Xbox One behind. But in your opinion, are you okay with GTA 6, rumored to be this gigantic, biggest game in the franchise, being only on next gen?
I'm totally okay with it. I want there to be enhancements in games. I want there to be new things that excite us. And I think the only way they're going to do that is sticking with next gen. I mean, Microsoft kind of already announced that with this whole WP, what's it called? Windows. Anyway, what they do is basically they have games scale.
Oh, UWP.
Yeah, like scale according to the power of the system.
Right.
And I mean, if Microsoft was in charge of this game, I'm sure they could have one version of the game that gives you enhancements on the new systems, but still is playable at a very good resolution and frame rate on the older systems. But this is Rocksteady or not Rocksteady. Rocksteady? Yeah.
Rockstar.
Yes.
Rockstar, sorry.
Rockstar,
This is Rockstar, and they're their own company, and if they can do whatever they want.
Rockstars, man.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they
they
can
are.
do whatever they want. They really can. And if they say we're going next gen, guess what? Everyone's going next gen. That's the way it is.
Yeah. No, I mean, listen, they're one of the few developers that could pretty much dictate where they're gonna go. The console manufacturers don't tell them what to do. They tell the console manufacturers what they're going to do.
Yeah, and along with that, dude, they're one of the few multi-plat companies that can actually sell consoles too. Because I bet you any kind of money, if they announce Grand Theft Auto that's only going to be on next gen, and people that don't have the next gen yet, they will jump on.
Yes, they will.
Just for that game.
Yeah, they will. Absolutely. Again, regardless of what flag you fly, whether it be Sony or the Xbox in the next generation, I think that I'm going to have both. I own an old console, so I'm going to have both, best of both worlds. And of course, we're getting rumors that the Nintendo Switch Pro might be released as well next year. So start saving those gift cards, folks. It's going to be an expensive 2020. But with that said, I'm okay, perfectly okay with a next gen only title, because I want this title to be big. I want it to be the biggest in the franchise. I think the franchise deserves it. Grand Theft Auto 5 was amazing. The characters were amazing. But I think it's obviously the game is, again, one of those titles that's been long in the tooth. Even though they've been supporting it with the online DLC, there was no story DLC, which is what I like. I like single player games. I'm a selfish gamer, some people would say. But Predator HQ, I want to go to you on this because the next gen consoles, they're not that far away. I mean, obviously, we're probably 16 months removed from a console launch, if my math is correct. And both consoles are probably going to be coming out in November. And this would be a great launch title, though that's probably not going to happen. We're going to probably see Grand Theft Auto 6 in 2022, maybe, give or take, because Rockstar, they just take their time with games. And obviously, Red Dead Redemption 2 is a perfect example of taking your time, doing it right, and selling millions and millions and millions of copies. The game is it's a phenomenal piece of work that they did. Are you personally okay with this game only being in the next generation? Should it released in like something 2021, 2022?
Yeah, I'm okay with that. I mean, I think the power of the next coming up consoles are going to be so much greater than what we have now that they can't put that on on our current gen. Like look at like the Minecraft update, how they couldn't do it because of, the limitations of the other consoles. So we'll be in the same boat if they're putting all this power into it. It's either going to be that or they have to scale it back. And I think, with the time they're going to take to create this game, they're going to try and make it as visually impressive as they possibly can. So which means it's going to need a lot of assets to do that. So I'm perfectly okay with that. I'm just sitting here scratching my head like, who has not bought this game? How's this game showing up in the top 10?
Incredible. Yeah, I know, man.
I was looking this up while you were talking to everybody else. Like, so up until 2019, because I don't have the data for this whole year, I haven't sat there and calculated, but like it only wasn't in the top 10 like 12 times since it released. Since 2013. It's just 12 times. And I'm like, wow. Like, and I'm sure if that says top 10, I'm sure it was probably in the top 20 for sure. Either way. But still, like, this game came out in 2013. It got re-released on the new generation consoles, and like, initially I kind of thought like, okay, people just rebought it. That's why it's coming back on, But people are still buying it, like this month, like still it's in the top 4. It's crazy.
It is pretty epic, and like I said, the stockholders at 2K and of course at Rockstar, they're all dancing the aisles because this old ass game continues to sell. But
they're just gonna reskin it and resell it in the next gen like they did this current generation.
Would that be crazy?
And
That shit would still sell.
It'd probably still sell.
Add new DLC and a new DLC, and everybody will buy it.
It probably, in some way or another, it would sell, which is ridiculous. But like I said, I say joking all the time. Every one of us in the chat and in the panel probably bought 3 copies of it and don't realize that you did, because it's. I know that I bought it on. I bought the 360 one, I bought the Xbox One copy, and I bought it again on the PS4. So I'm in for 3 copies, which is ridiculous.
Same here.
So well, see, there you go.
I got it twice.
And then I see also what I see too, because I work. I have a second job, which is at GameStop, because I have a habit where I just like collect Funko Pops and statues, and that working there supports my habit. But I see a lot of people honestly trading it in, and then when they launch a new DLC,
they buy it back
and buy it back. And then with the purchase, like they give them like one of those shark cards that come in the game that's like an additional like 150,000 or something like that, whatever it is. So they love that. I've seen people say, "Man, I'll just buy it just for that." And I'm just like, "What the heck?"
Yeah,
I sold I was there yesterday. I sold like 6 copies of it, and I was only there for. Man, like this game's insane, dude. Like,
yeah, well, I mean, it's popular for a reason. Hyena Den, before I get to you, I have to thank a new channel member. Welcome, Infinite Double A. Thank you so much for that, dude. That is greatly appreciated. Welcome to the Double Barrel Gaming channel membership. Hyena Den, I want to get your opinion on this because obviously Grand Theft Auto 6 is the next title from Rocksteady, from Rockstar. And we know it's going to be good. We know it's going to be big. Look what they did with Red Dead Redemption 2. I mean, the game is a masterpiece. Even though I didn't finish it. I got up to the end of the 4th chapter, and I lost steam. It just was too slow for me. And I normally don't actually finish the Rockstar games. I've only beaten Vice City I beat, which was fantastic. And I beat the original Grand Theft Auto 3. Those 2 I beat. After that, the game's just become so big. I just lost. I got disinterested in it. But I'm excited for Grand Theft Auto 6 for a lot of reasons. In your opinion, someone that watches the industry, because you have your own YouTube channel as well, do you think that this is a smart move to only release it on the next gen consoles?
Well, if you're talking about for GT6, if you're talking about that is the complete package that isn't watered down, I think it's best to release it only on Scarlet, PS5, and PC, right? Instead of well, at least the base units, Xbox One, OG, S, and PS4. Because you look at most cross-gen games, right? GTA 5 is one of those examples. You look at how GTA 5 differentiated itself from the Xbox 360 and PS3 versions. There was more particle effects on the next-gen system.
Yeah.
There was better water effects if you look at the ocean on next-gen system. There was better frame rates and, better resolution, obviously, better draw distance, and the list goes on and on. The same can be true for GTA 6 if it were a cross-gen game. You'd have enhancements on the better machines, but at the same time, it's kind of like the reason why I want them to focus on next-gen and next-gen only is because of some of the things that they could do with the new CPUs in both Scarlet and PS5. Like, games like Grand Theft Auto World games could benefit so much from purely focusing on the next-gen systems. If you look at people roaming around the streets in GTA 5, it is very impressive. But imagine that ramped up to the point of I keep forgetting which Assassin's Creed it is. I think it's Unity is the one where you see just tons and tons of people.
Yeah,
in the
that was
streets.
Unity. Yeah, it was a lot of people, a lot of sidewalk movement.
Imagine that, except for you're not going to be bogged down by the CPU. So it's going to be able to handle that in GTA 6. You know, they could do a lot of things along those lines without having to be hampered by the old systems. I do constantly watch my dad and granddad play GTA 5 online, and they played on the PS4. And my God, GTA Online, it I don't want to say it runs like a slideshow because that might be unfair, but
It just doesn't run that
looks
well.
constantly running at 20 frames a second.
Wow.
On the base PS4, you know, and that's concerning. If you think of, well, they might release GTA 6 as a cross-gen game. If they're adding more stuff to GTA 6, how well is it going to run on the base PS4 and Xbox One? You know, like I'm sure the Pro and the X will be okay for it, but you know, focusing on next-gen consoles, I think would do more good than it would harm. You know, and those games have long legs anyway, so it'll end up selling 175 billion copies. You know, the Rockstar will be a-okay with doing that.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I mean, it's definitely interesting, but I'm in agreement with everything you said. Again, if GTA 5 is chugging on vanilla PS4 and vanilla Xbox One, you can only imagine what a GTA 6 in size and scope would run. It would be terrible. I applaud them for not even talking about it, because you know they don't normally talk about games anyway until they're getting ready to be put out there. So that the great stuff. Graphic God, I want you to go to you next on this. GTA 6 is going to be a big deal. It's like someone alluded to. It's going to sell consoles regardless of which console you decide to buy. And because it's going to be the first one that allows you to actually leave the states, go to a different country, it's going to need to be big, and it's going to need the power in the CPU as well as the GPU to run correctly. Are you personally okay with this being? I don't. Did I come to you already?
Yeah, you already asked me. Albus.
Oh, I am so listen again. Sorry, folks. That's my bad. The last, but certainly not least.
I can do a voice like I said before. I could pretend I'm somebody else.
No, we don't want you to do that.
Yeah, no. Do my voice. Do my voice.
I don't know how to do your voice.
Zemi Games, you know what? Close us out on this. You know, obviously, again, this game may not be in your wheelhouse, right?
It is.
And it is, which that's great. It makes this question even greater. You are a person that appreciates story, and again, I said that earlier. Why I enjoy having you on the panel, because even though the game might not necessarily be your genre per se, you appreciate a good story. And the one thing about GTA, even though their stories are a little wacky, their writing is phenomenal, and they do tell an amazing comic book-esque kind of a story, even that goes on for sometimes 60, 70, 80 hours in a game. What are your thoughts on this only being on the next-gen consoles?
Yeah, I mean, I'm perfectly okay with that. I mean, do I think that it could release on the Xbox One, family of consoles? Yes, I think it could. But Rockstar is one of those companies that likes to, push what they do. They every single time they release a new game, they like to push the story. They like to push, like the violence. But then they also like to, make the game look better and play better. And to be able to do that, I think that it's basically going to have to be a next generation only game, and I'm perfectly okay with that. I can't remember who was saying it, but you guys were talking about Grand Theft Auto Vice City. That game looked, phenomenal back on like the PlayStation 2, but to think about what it would look like now is just like, I mean, that would just blow my mind. And so, I mean, I think without a shadow of a doubt that what they're doing, or what is rumored for them to be doing, is definitely a very, very smart decision. I don't see any other way of really going about it to make, the next Grand Theft Auto have such a big wow factor as what, the previous games have done, having it on, the current gen consoles.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it'd be a tragedy. They would have to really dumb down the game for it to run correctly, and I don't want to see that. I don't think, because they're such perfectionists at Rockstar, I don't necessarily think they want to see that just to make a couple extra bucks. And I'm not sure who actually said it about them selling systems. I think it might have been Super G. Yeah, this will sell consoles. People will be like, oh shit, Grand Theft Auto is on what? I'm going out buying PS5. I'm going out buying Xbox One Scarlet.
No doubt, man.
No doubt about it.
And another thing too is that this isn't like a new idea or anything. Bethesda has actually already came out and said that their next two big releases, Starfield and Elder Scrolls 6, are going to have to be released on the next hardware because the current hardware is just not going to be able to support their ideas that they want to do for the game. So I mean, we've already seen this before, so it's not really a big shocker.
Yeah, no, you actually, that's a great point to bring up because Bethesda, we know that they can't release. They got to do something with those engines, and hopefully that they look phenomenal in the next thing. But real quick, before I move on to the last topic of the show, an outstanding and outrageous show of generosity from Gamer by Choice with the $20 super chat. He says, great show. Thank you all for being awesome. An awesome panel and great gamers. I can't wait for GTA 6 on PS5, Scarlet, and PC. Yeah, I'm right there with you. Thank you so much for that. That is very, very generous of you, and it is greatly appreciated. So closing out today's amazing show that had a little bit of hiccups, technical hiccups in the beginning. I want to bring it back around to Ubisoft because according to Ubisoft, they are promising that story is vitally important to Watch Dogs Legion, and because they're the masters of storytelling, I have zero doubt that this is gonna be a problem for them. And this story I pulled, and I like to give credit for wherever I pull the stories from, is from PlayStation Lifestyle. The ambitious driving Ubisoft Toronto studio is working on Watch Dogs Legion, and the design director Kent Hudson detailed the kind of stories players should expect to encounter within this new title that launches next year. And this is what he had to say, which I thought was pretty interesting. I know you can play as anyone. It's kind of crazy technology, and it's innovation that we've not seen on this level. It's something that we've never done before, but story is a big part of Watch Dogs Legion. In fact, it's a huge part of the franchise and this game. We have 5 different storylines within the game, so it's up to 5 main, you can call them quest lines if you want, and each one of them is tied to one of the pillars that make this game stand up. So he continues with, so for example, we're going to be looking today at a storyline that's about a surveillance state. It's basically about the spies of the nation turning their technology inward and actually spying on the citizens of England and London. There's one that's about the surveillance state that really puts an emphasis on getting into people's business, which is, again, you never want to see the government do that. And the fact that it's fictional, it's great that it's fictional, that there's no real truth to this. But because of the way the government is, this part of London and England is run by a private military contractor. And we know how those guys could be. They really don't follow the letter to the law. So the fact that we're going to get a game that's going to be talking about some really sensitive topics, I actually think that's fantastic. I mean, obviously, when you get into the way the world is currently and the way that it could potentially be 20, 30, 40 years from now, this makes you kind of go, you know what I'm saying? But the one thing that I will say about Watch Dogs, I'm going to say this. Watch Dogs 1 disappointed a lot of folks because of the way Ubisoft showed off that trailer when they were in the Chicago Cubs stadium, and he was coming out and he's moving against the cars. Obviously that was a bit of a mock-up. I don't know what that was running on, but that's not the game that we wound up getting. But I am going to say this. If you've never played Watch Dogs 2, it was amazing. Ubisoft is one of my favorite developers this generation. I got every achievement in that game. It was a fictional Seattle, where again, if you enjoyed Watch Dogs 1, Watch Dogs 2 is going to blow you away. Big open world, very Grand Theft Auto-ish, if you will. Marcus was a fantastic fantastic character, and the NPCs that were on his team, I actually have a few statues of them. They were amazing cast of characters. So if you have not played Watch Dogs 2 more specifically, I say pick it up. You could probably get it dirt cheap. But Watch Dogs 3, what's interesting about this game and what I was able to see while I was at E3 is the fact that you could logistically use any character in the game. Civilians become playable characters that have their own storylines, it's just bananas. And one thing that they're bringing to this game that they've never had in any other games, if you didn't know, is permadeath. So you can pick a character, and if you like that character, you got to be real careful, because if that character dies, well, you got to pick another character. And that is pretty freaking interesting. Now, I'm going to say this. With Cyberpunk 2077 coming out next year, which is going to be a massive game, and Watch Dogs Legion is looking to be possibly as big as this game, I'm excited because, again, backlogs, unfortunately, are going to be stacked. These games are going to be big. What has me excited about this particular title, not so much that it's the third iteration in the series, it's because it's in London. And not too many games have been made, at least recently, where you're playing in London. And because it's Ubisoft, they do one-to-one scaling like nobody else. If you were a fan of the Division 1, and I know, of course, Predator was, when you got to Times Square, that little precinct that was in Times Square, that's almost identical. And I know because I was a New York City police officer, and I went to details where we had the turnout of that little precinct, and it was literally one-to-one. So London is going to look amazing. Now, I also just want to add that it had an incredible E3 2019 showing. Some of the trailers, I watched them all multiple times. Got me really excited for the game. But I want to know what the panel thinks. But of course, I want to know what the chat thinks. But before I do, we have another new channel member, JD Gamer. Dude, welcome to the show, and thank you so much for becoming a channel member. It is greatly appreciated. I want to go to Super G, our guest for today. What are your excitement levels? Are they for Watch Dogs Legion, and are you expecting this to be another feather in their cap for games that they make that are fantastic?
I have a love-hate relationship with
Ubisoft?
with Watch Dogs.
Okay.
No, not so much with Ubisoft. It's Watch Dogs, man. Because I felt I was lied to with the first one, man.
A lot of people did. You're not the only one, for sure.
Oh my gosh, I bought that game, and it was one of the worst games I had played, seen. Oh, it was so bad. I couldn't do it. I returned that thing within like 48 hours. I was like, nope. And the worst part about it, I took days off work to play it, and it was so bad. And then it was so bad, I didn't purchase Watch Dogs 2. But I ended up purchasing it for my stepson, and he enjoyed it, so I seen him play it, and I've always wanted to play it. And then I seen 3 at E3, and it just blew me away. I was just like, yo, like, okay, had the first one been like this, I would have been all in. It would be like, without a doubt. But like, I'm interested in this one. I see a lot of stuff that I really, really like with this one. The graphics look amazing. The city looks amazing. The permadeath factor is so cool to me because I love permadeath. Like, I play a lot of State of Decay, so it makes you cherish the
It's a pressure that's put on top of you as a gamer.
Mm-hmm. And you get to play like much smarter. You can't like play haphazardly. Like it's a factor to a game that I appreciate and I liked, and I'm glad they're doing that. And then the whole thing of just like grabbing whoever you pretty much want to like put on your team and use. I think that's dope because like me and my friends, we play a lot of the same games, so I can actually have characters that they won't have and use. And just kind of like brag about it. Like, look, I got this cool person. I got this person. You know, like stuff like that. Like it draws me into games, and everything else just looks dope. It looks really good. I can't wait for it.
Yeah, no, I'm right there with you. And again, if you haven't seen any of the videos or any of the trails, the gameplay trail, not just story trailers, actual gameplay trailers. There's one with an old lady that is
old lady, yeah.
Hilarious.
She's no joke,
She
man.
is.
I want her on my team.
Yes, yes, she is no joke. She is like 80-something years old, and she is kicking ass and taking names to the whole.
She reminds me of heavy. What movie is it called? There's a movie with like these old retired.
Yes,
like,
I know
like
what you're talking about.
CIA
Yes,
agents,
yes.
like,
What is the actress' name? She's
it's
a
like Morgan
blonde.
Freeman
Yes.
and I think John Malkovich and someone else, dude. But like, is it Helena Mirror?
Yes. Yep. Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. She reminds me of
Helen
her, dude. That. Oh my gosh, I can't wait for that. I want her on my team though.
Yeah, she was actually really badass. If you, like I said, after the show, get over there and check out that because it was really, really well done. Zemi Games, I want to go to you because again, story is at the forefront of this next Watch Dogs. It's something that's important. Now, again, I don't necessarily know if there's going to be a political message, let's say from Ubisoft, like they kind of want to get their political message in the game. I necessarily don't actually like that because I think everyone's entitled to their own opinion. And when it comes to politics, I'm not the biggest fan because most politicians are shit and they're crooks. And that's just my opinion on the deal. But with that said, this is going to have a heavy story that's gonna be told over the course of, again, it could be one of those 30, 40, 50-hour titles. And the fact that there's 5 storylines that they're going to interconnect, it should be a game up your alley. What are your expectations for Watch Dogs Legion?
Yeah, my expectations so far are pretty high. As it stands, I definitely plan to get the game on release. And as far as the story goes, I think the overall like arching storyline is going to be very, very good. But the one thing that is very concerning to me is all of these characters that you're going to be playing as. How are you going to understand the backstory of those different characters? And the reason why I think that that's important is because, from what we saw and what was explained, whenever you go and recruit a new character, they will have a story mission that goes along with them, with you recruiting them. How different are each of those story missions, or are those different missions to get these characters? And, because knowing your specific character's background, what they think about things, how they act, why they're in the situation that they're in, that is so important to telling a really good, rich story. Like recently, I've been watching the Marvel Cinematic Universe. The very first movie I started with was Iron Man. Absolutely enjoyed it, right? But, try watching Iron Man where you don't know any of Tony Stark's background. You don't know who he is as a character. You don't know why he wants to do what he wants to do. So for me personally, that's the only thing that just kind of has me questioning the storyline so far. I think like the main arching story, there's a bunch of bad guys taking a surveillance system. You need to go stop them. I'm sure that storyline is going to be good, but if I don't care about my character, then what does that lead me to with the rest of the story of the game?
That's a great point. That's you know what? I never actually put that together, dude. That is actually for someone that enjoys story. That's a really fantastic point because what is because that's the thing with the when you pick a character, you want to care about the character. So then the permadeath plays an important part because you're like, shit, I like this character. How are they going to tell that story and about that said character to make you care whether or not they live or die? That's a great point, dude.
Yeah, I mean, and I would love to see like in the game, like for instance, if you're playing as the old granny, I would love to see like whenever you're switching characters and you spawn in as the old granny, I would love to hear her like talking on the phone to like her grandchildren or something about what's happening in the world. I mean, something real that like you can connect to, like, oh, okay, she has grandchildren, maybe she's fighting the good fight because she wants to protect her grandchildren's future or something, like anything. And so I think it's very important that they make sure that all the characters are different, that, they don't just have different things whenever you look at their information online, this guy's a bank robber or whatever. They don't have just different text things. I hope that they make each and every character feel like a separate individual with a backstory.
No, that's a great point. That's a really, really educated, well described point, dude. Thank you for that. I didn't even think about that. Predator. I know, being a big Ubisoft guy, is this something that's on your radar? And what do you think? What do you think about the fact that it's going to have 5 different storylines interconnecting?
It sounds like it's gonna be a long ass game, man.
Yeah,
it's like, see, like I don't know who went first, but I'm in the same boat as him. Like, after the original Watch Dogs, I was let down. I didn't buy Watch Dogs 2. I have not played it. I've not hardly even looked at gameplay. So, um, and when I saw this one at E3, I was interested, but it's one of those games I'll most likely put on the back burner. Um, I just don't do those long. I'm still playing The Witcher, and I've said this like for 2 years now. I'm still playing The Witcher. Like
Yeah.
I'll jump on.
That's a
every
big
now and
game
then, jump
too.
on.
Big.
And I know my gaming style. Like I can't play a game that's that long. I just don't have the time and energy to sit there for days on just playing one game. I bounce around from game to game a lot. So, will it be a pickup? Possibly. I'd have to see a little bit more from the game, but what I've seen so far does definitely look interesting. But I know typical Ubisoft fashion, sometimes they show you stuff and they pull it out later. So I want to see what the game is going to look like when it launches, and I'll make a decision then.
Okay, that's absolutely fair. That's a fair assessment, especially after being let down. Now, if anyone's interested per se, the Watch Dogs 2 was set in a fictional San Francisco, California. I know someone in the chat said it was kind of like very hippie, hipster kind of a scenario, but like I said, I really enjoyed that game, and I think it's dirt cheap, and I don't think that you're gonna need to play Watch Dogs 1 or 2 to enjoy 3. I'll throw that out there as well. Hyena Dan, I want to go to you on this because you're in California, so you can appreciate that. Of course, Watch Dogs 2 was in fact in San Francisco, California. But what you've seen of Watch Dogs Legion and giving the player choice of being able to pick any character that you want, and then obviously permadeath is going to play a big part. What are your expectations for this game?
Oh, hearing permadeath being in the game kind of piques my interest a lot, considering I actually really love games that revolve around that, like State of Decay 2. I think that's a fascinating element in games that really keeps you on your toes and makes you care more about the character that you're taking care of. When it comes to this new Watch Dogs game, some of the things that they're saying, it seems like they're saying all the right things, right, with the character development, and all these different characters have their own sort of like branching like narrative to them, and they're really robust. It sounds nice on paper, but I wonder how the execution's actually going to be, because I remember the same thing being said for the most part, like AI in Skyrim, and how they built that world. And Skyrim is a very robust game, no doubt about it. But when it comes to the AI, generally speaking, and the same can be said for Fallout games too. Generally speaking, with these games, I would say a good like 85% of the AI, they have most of the same dialogue. It's really the most important characters out there that have the branching narrative. So I wonder to what extent the narrative is going to be for all of these different characters, and I also wonder if it's going to be like a Red Dead situation where somebody made a video on this when the game came out, and they just walked around the world of Red Dead Redemption 2, and people had their own times they did specific things, times went to bed, and that's not new in video games. Oblivion did that in 2006 on
they did
Xbox
on the 360. They sure did.
So I wonder to what extent they're going to build this world out, and how far the narrative goes with a lot of the AI in this game that is different from why a main protagonist isn't the right word, because I think they said that there really isn't one. It's a conglomerate of just
characters.
As a whole.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So that's the only concerning thing is just to what extent is the narrative and stuff like that. If it's like Oblivion, even though Oblivion's an old game, if they're doing what Oblivion did back then and what Red Dead Redemption 2 is doing now, that's great. That's fantastic. I think there is no such thing as too many single player games. out there. And the same can be said for multiplayer, obviously. This Watch Dogs game looks more interesting than the first one, definitely to me. But I did like the location of the second one. So we will see how that ends up going when it does launch. And I just like with GTA 6, I wonder what type of improvements they're doing with CPU utilization and ramping up the AI in streets and stuff like that.
I'll be very disappointed if anyone in the new Watch Dogs games complains about having an arrow to the knee.
Oh dear.
And you know what? Speaking of graphic guide, why don't you close us out with this? Watch Dogs Legion, anyway, looked phenomenal to me, and I'm very excited for it because I actually really enjoyed the series. One I enjoyed. I didn't beat one. I got almost through it. Aiden Pierce. A lot of people didn't like him as a character. I thought he was fine. I'm wondering if either of the characters, whether it be Aiden or Marcus, are going to show up in London as a cameo. Because if you played through 2, Aiden was in there for a brief mission, which was pretty cool, to be honest with you. But what are your thoughts and your opinions on Watch Dogs Legion? Is this something that you're going to get day one?
Okay, so I have a confession. Much like you, I did not finish Watch Dogs 1. I did enjoy it, but the issues with the game kind of kept me from wanting to continue with it.
Okay.
Watch Dogs 2 is on my Xbox, and I haven't even started it.
Oh, dude, you got to play that. I think you'd enjoy it.
I know. So, here's the thing. I will keep my opinion until I play and finish Watch Dogs 2, and if Watch Dogs 2 impresses me as much as it's impressed you, then I'm definitely all for Watch Dogs 3. That being said, what I did see from Watch Dogs 3 does intrigue me, does make me want to play it. The fact that you can be different characters, and those characters can be anything, like you guys said, from an old lady to probably a child. Who knows where they're going to go with that. That does intrigue me, and being able to hack different things, and I know that the hacking technology is just going to go through the roof on number 3. Yeah, and I love the whole stealth element of it all, and I love the gunfights. Yeah, definitely. So like I said, if 2 impresses me, I'll be all for 3.
Nice. Now, just at least another game to add to your backlog, which is probably ridiculous anyway. Well, listen, this has been an amazing 2+ hours of gaming talk that I hope everybody enjoyed it. We had over 100 people watching live, which is pretty good considering that this show is a little earlier than some of the other shows. Of course, I want to thank everybody in the chat. You guys are amazing. We had one knucklehead that, of course, the sheriff known as Lethal Papa took care of. Listen, I'm going to say this, and I didn't want to stop the show. No Russian. Dude, here's the thing. You've been called out on Dealer's show. You've been called out on Salty's show. I don't necessarily understand why you come to these chats to make trouble. Yes, your opinion is your opinion, and you are entitled to it, but you're a bit of a disruption. Now, I don't know if it's Lethal. I know he quieted you. If this kind of behavior continues, my friend, I'm going to have to just ban you from the show. And I'm not sure if Dealer did that or if anyone else has done that. But these chats, I will not allow someone to come here and pick a fight with with people I consider my family. I take that very serious. My chats are very friendly. They're very open. They're very opinionated, but at the same time, everyone has respect for one another. It seems that you do not have respect for others' opinions, and you start using caps, and you start, texting like crazy. We cannot have that in this chat. So if you're going to be here, just come to have fun, and you're welcome. If you're going to come to do anything else, you're not going to be welcome. But with that said, I have to thank everybody that, of course, donated in the Super Chat. I mean, the generosity is outrageous. Thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. And, of course, all of the new channel members, thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. It was something I was very hesitant to do. I talked about it in the beginning of the show. I don't want to over monetize the channel, but I want to do more giveaways for each show that I do, and I can't do it without some sort of other way of making a couple extra bucks so I can kind of pay it forward back to the community. So a big thank you for all the channel members, and of course thank you again to my outstanding and very large panel, which is never usually this big, but we got all the topics in and we did it just a smidge over 2 hours because, you know, obviously we had that little technical hiccup with the sound in the beginning. But you know what? Let's get to the outros. You know, Graphic God, first of all, I want to go to you first. Number one, obviously, I consider you to be a brother of mine. You've helped me out since the beginning of this journey 21 months ago when I started this YouTube channel. I had no idea what the hell I'm doing. I barely have any idea what I'm doing now. But when it comes to the graphical work, I really, it's something that I have I have no skill in whatsoever. But you do. And you do awesome work. You are one of the most talented people that I know in this community. You have your own website that you own, xboxgamerpicks.com, but you also do channel work for banners. You also make thumbnails. You also do avatars for people on the PlayStation 4. Tell everyone about that, dude.
Yeah, I also do intro videos for people as well. So if you're looking for that kind of stuff, hit me up on Twitter. My DM is open. You can find me at graphic_god. And if you're looking for anything other than a gamer pick, that's where you find me on Twitter. If you're looking for gamer picks, you can go to xboxgamerpicks.com. And I have a price range for everybody. You know, the prices range from $35 up to $100. And 100 means you get animated, spectacular, everything.
You get all the bells and whistles.
I've had some done, so yeah, it's fantastic.
Yeah, I was remembering that when I was reading your name. I was like, oh, I did a cool one for Super G back in the day with his likeness with his thumb up. It was pretty awesome.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
So find me there. And if you're looking for an alternative type of podcast on Tuesday nights, me and a couple of friends of mine do a show called Retro Renegades. And you can find it on my YouTube channel and Supersonic Stations. And we have a great group of guys that just like to play games, drink beer, and shoot the shit. And we play everything from arcade classics right up to games from 10 years ago. I don't think we probably do some 360, but it's like 360 and below.
Okay.
So it's all retro stuff. So there's myself, UK Desirous, Stinking Corpse, Supersonic Station, Jago, and our newest member, Crispy Bomb.
Crispy Bomb, yes, who was in the chat. Yeah, he recently announced that he was a part of that podcast or show.
And he's there every week. He was there every week, and he often came on as just a guest. And it was like, why is this guy a guest? He's here all the time. He's got the same attitude as we all do. He's an old school gamer. He likes to drink beer.
What's not to like?
Those are the only two qualifications that you need. So hit us up on Tuesday nights. It's a fun time.
Yeah, it's a great show. I think everyone should definitely tune in to Jay's channel. Give that a sub and give that a watch because it is a lot of fun. Super G, before I get to you, I have to thank two people. JD Gamer with the additional $5 super chat. He says, great show, guys. Thank you for that. And Chaos Theory, who's always here with the outstanding $2 super chat. He says, great show. I arrived late, but what a show. Thanks so much, dude. I really, really appreciate the kind words. And it does mean a lot to me. I do put a lot of significant work into these shows, and I'm really glad people are enjoying them. Super G. Listen, I'm going to say this, dude. First of all, you have a great radio voice. I'm going to say that right now. And you are definitely going to be invited back on to Breakfast with Boom in a future episode. But you have a lot going on for yourself. You are part of the Smash podcast as well as being very vocal on Twitter. Please tell everyone where they can follow you on Twitter, but more importantly, check you out on the other show.
Yeah, check us out on Saturdays between 12 Pacific time, so it's 3 hours, I guess, if you're in New York time. You guys know
3
how that
o'clock,
works.
yeah, for us.
But yeah, check us out, man. we talk. We're straight nerds, so we talk straight like comics, anime, movies, anything like that's in the nerddom area. You know, that's us. And we also cover some gaming if it pertains to that. Like if an anime game comes out that's about an anime that's hot right now, we talk about that too. But yeah, just give us a look, man. And Boom, thank you, dude. Appreciate the invite. This was awesome. I was hoping I did good enough to get invited back.
Oh, heck yeah, dude. You got a golden ticket. You got a golden ticket. Well, listen, it was great having you on, and you certainly will be invited back once again. Yeah, that's okay, brother. Unfortunately, this is Discord. But yeah, you definitely will be invited back. And thanks again for being here, dude. I know it's super early by you.
Yeah, I live in California, bro, so it's all good. I got to get the kids ready for school. So
there we go.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, dude, once again.
And I appreciate the panel, too. You guys are awesome, man. And happy birthday to Pred, dude. So.
Oh, Predator's birthday. Well,
shoot.
We did not even realize that. Well, you know what? Speaking of Predator H2O, first of all, happy birthday, dude, number one. And number two, thanks for jumping in at the last minute. You know you are always welcome at your other home, Breakfast with Boom. That's not Crossfire or the next podcast. But you know what? You also have a lot going on. Let's hopefully, your gameplay wins, because you're kind of been cheated. I say vote for Predator. Do me a favor. Tell everyone where they could follow you on Twitter and listen to you on your other shows that you are a part of.
So my Twitter, I always say this wrong. I've been saying it wrong for years. It's not Predator _H2OS. It's Predator space H2OS, and I wonder why I could never get anybody to follow me. So next podcast Saturday, I won't be there. Obviously, it's my birthday, so I will be probably hungover somewhere. Let's see, and obviously Crossfire on Wednesdays. Find me anywhere. Just hit me up on Twitter. My channel's open, and send gifts.
Yes, absolutely. Oh, okay. Yes, his DM is open for gifts, folks. If you want to send any digital items his way. Thanks for being here once again. You were awesome. Zemi Games, the part of the Breakfast with Boom family. Love having you on the show. You got a lot going on. Your YouTube channel just crossed 12,000 subs, which is amazing. Please tell everyone where they can follow you on Twitter, which we got to get those Twitter numbers up, folks. Yeah, if you like me, you're probably going to like Zemi. Head over to Zemi and give him a follow on Twitter. But you know what? Tell everyone where they can do that. And more importantly, tell everyone where they can find you on YouTube.
Thank you so much, Boom. Fantastic show. And all the topics were outrageously amazing. If you guys want to follow me and YouTube, you can do so by just searching for Zemi Games or at Zemi Games on Twitter. And then you can also go and subscribe to my second YouTube channel that I created a few months ago called The Strange. And thank you so much, Boom.
Oh, great to have you. And last and certainly not least, by any stretch of the truth, our professional NASCAR / Forza driver, Hyena Den. Thank you so much for being here, dude. I do greatly appreciate it. Again, I know it's super early by you, but I really enjoy having you on the show, and I do enjoy what you do when you're with Salty. Please tell everyone where they can follow you on Twitter, but more importantly, check out your other shows, and of course, sub your YouTube channel.
Absolutely. As stated before, I'm on Salty's podcast every Thursday night for TSGP, and everybody can find me on Twitter at HyenaDenXBL and on YouTube and Xbox Live at HyenaSpaceDen. Actually, I just popped in State of Decay 2, so I'm going to be playing some of that for the remainder of this morning.
Nice.
See how well this goes. But yeah, no content coming out probably within the next month or two for me, unfortunately, because of Adobe problems that I've been having. And I switched to DaVinci Resolve, and apparently it feels less optimized than Adobe. Even though it's free, which is kind of annoying, so it is what it is. I'll see what happens. Like you guys were discussing pre-show, I'm gonna have to try and check out some Humble bundles and stuff like that, and see if I can get some wicked deals on some Adobe products or anything like that, so I can get content rolling out again.
Well, listen, again, we'll be waiting patiently for your content. Hopefully you can square away your software issues. But listen, this has been a great show. I don't want to hold it anyone. We're past the 2.5 hour mark, even though we started a few minutes later than I would have liked. This has been an amazing show. Thank everybody for being here, for hanging out for over 2 hours. Thanks my panel for giving up 2 hours of their day. And I want to wish everybody a fantastic weekend. It is Friday, so happy Friday to everyone. And I always like closing out the show with this. There are two things that I've lived my life with that I learned from my pop when I was a kid. Number one, treat people how you want to be treated. That's number one. And number two, it doesn't cost anything to be nice. Just remember that, and you will guarantee to have a great day. Take care, everyone. Have a fantastic weekend, and we will talk next week on the newest episode of Breakfast with Boom.